Welcome back, finally, to the Gold Star podcast. We are live. It's me, Jamie Ross from Wrestle Purist, and I'm joined after a very long wait by my two wonderful co-hosts, Scott and Six Star. And what a week to return to the Gold Star podcast, my friends, because it has been one of the most newsworthy weeks in Joshi wrestling, in particular, in quite some time. As you'll see in the thumbnail, we have two legends of the scene retiring this week. We had Tam Nakano calling it a career in a wonderful main event of All Star Grand Queendom, that red belt match with Saya Kamatani, and the final boss, the original final boss, Meiko Satomura, also called it a career in what was in its own right another fantastic show from Sendai Girls. We also had the stardom departure of Mayu Iwatani, and a few days later, she would officially join the Marigold roster. We also had the return to the ring for Jungle Kiona and a little announcement of maybe a full-time return going after some belts. We'll definitely touch on that. And also, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestling Dontaku upcoming. We'll take a little breeze through some of the top matches on that card. Those two cards right at the end of the show. But first, start with Scott, because I think the difference between Scott and Six, how they're feeling going into this, is going to be a little bit dictated by two of the headlines of today. Scott, I know you're here for a victory lap. Mayu Iwatani, the icon of Stardom, now the icon of Joshi Pro Wrestling altogether. How are you feeling that today is the day that we make the return to the Gold Star?
I mean, I feel great. I feel great. And I'm gonna say this now and get it out of the way. I think for me, and it's always been this way, enough with just like always support the wrestlers. That's all I'm gonna say today. Because Mayu Iwatani, after a year of having to stick around in Stardom and having an incredible year at that, has moved on to Marigold and is now looking to the future. Couldn't be happier, couldn't be more excited. I have been so busy this week between All-Star Grand Queendom and Mayu making her moves and Meiko retiring. Not to spoil the entire show. But I couldn't be happier to be back here and talking about all this, because as you can imagine, I am as happy as can be. And I'm excited to celebrate two legends, like you said, as well. I think they deserve all the flowers in the world. Two very different legends of Joshi, but both super important. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. So thank you for finally getting us back on air, Jamie.
Well, listen, I was a little concerned when I saw you rock up to Wrestle Purist Worldwide on Monday. I thought, is booking fees going to go up? I don't know if I've got the budget to, you know what I mean? So I'm happy you're here. Of course, this week in particular, because like you said, Mayu being a headline, we always need you here for all the Mayu coverage. On the flip side of things, Six Star, I know you're also, very excited about the potential of all the matchups we could get with Mayu Iwatani in the future. But I believe you may be slightly more concerned by the departure of Tam Nakano in its entirety from wrestling. A career has come to an end, and I know you're the big Cosmic Angels representative here on the show. And Stardom is forever changed, and Cosmic Angels thereby. So, Six, how are you feeling on this Friday?
It's always a good day, my lovely Gold Star faithful, when we get to do a show, when I get to sit in this booth with my lovely co-hosts, when I get to sit on this microphone and espouse wonderful Joshi knowledge and takes. But I must also admit, my lovely Gold Star faithful, that there is a hole in my heart, that there is a gap, that there is something missing, and that is because my cosmic mother, Tam Nakano, has taken her final steps, her final bumps, her final running of the ropes. She's laid her boots down. She has disappeared into the darkness, leaving Joshi without its guiding light, leaving Stardom without the very center of its cosmos, leaving me, leaving you, leaving us all without our cosmic queen. So what am I to do but grieve? Well, that's a great question. I will celebrate. I will celebrate and honor the career of one Tam Nakano, of the Cosmic Queen, of the woman who not only changed stardom, but changed Joshi as a whole. The woman who, even when times were tough, when the booking was at its weakest, she was able to make a story. She was able to bring her character to the forefront, whether she was in her first years, whether she was in her final weeks. Her greatest strength of being able to consistently bring out the character of Tam Nakano, bring out the story of Tam Nakano, and not just make it the forefront of her, but make it the forefront of the match, and at her best, at her heights, the forefront of the promotion. Not only is stardom forever changed by the departure of Tam Nakano, I dare say that Joshi will never, ever be the same. And for that, my lovely Gold Star faithful, we must celebrate, we must honor, and we must love the career of Tam Nakano. And if you don't, I will find you and I will kill you. I promise you, there is not a depth of hell dark enough, not a depth of hell hot enough, not a corner of hell cold enough to compare to what I'll do to you if you do not respect Tam Nakano. That being said, Jamie, I'm having a great time. I'm doing really well. I'm really, really happy to be here. To echo some of Scotty's sentiments, we're fucking back in terms of the way that Joshi has been shaken. This is the most newsworthy week that has happened in Joshi in my multiple years of watching it now. And I must say, I believe it was Scott that said this, it was multiple things that would otherwise be the biggest piece of news in Joshi in a given year happened within the same week. Stardom is forever changed. Top stars retiring. The greatest to ever do it. The wrestler that defined stardom since its existence has left the promotion. And I'm excited to talk all about it.
Yes, it is it's definitely one of the most newsworthy times I can remember in wrestling in some time. But before we get into the big headlines of the day, we have a few little super chats to kick things off. So I appreciate all of those coming in. Monet updates with the $1.99 super chat. Hey, did anyone sign up to text the goat yet? Well, unfortunately, I don't think Mayu Iwatani set up a subscription service, so
Not yet.
we haven't been able to, unfortunately. I don't know if any of you guys have signed up to the Mercedes Monet text line. I believe I saw something like $99 or something inside. I don't know, but I'm sure people will pay this. So if you're that way inclined, you wanna go subscribe to that, then let us know how is the experience. Come back to us next time we're here on the podcast and give us all the insights.
Can you believe how kind Mercedes Monet is to give commoners, to give regular schmegular Joes like you and I the chance to even communicate with her? See, that's my goat. And even if we're not going to talk to her directly, getting those direct updates from Mercedes Monet, see, that's worth the price tag. And you know what? That's because Mercedes Monet is single-handedly among the greatest to ever do it, arguably the greatest to ever do it. Of course, I'm not going to say that with Scott right below me. Mayu Iwatani, of course, I have nothing but respect. You know this, Scotty. But I got to say, Mercedes Monet, nothing but love. And she deserves every single penny she's getting paid. She deserves every single privilege that she has in wrestling and beyond it.
Absolutely agree with all of that. Andrew also with a $1.99 super chat. The power is back. Hashtag Marigold. Mayu versus Go Chica. Hashtag
Many people are saying this. We're
going to get into it when we get to that segment of the show, but there are quite a few matchups that I'm very much looking forward to. Some of them extend beyond the Golden Gardens also, and I think they now open themselves up as possibilities. So we will get into all of that later in the show. We also have another a £1.99 a UK super chat from this is my good friend Ollie. He's big up to my Among Us imposter partner, JB. He's exposing my regular activities. I am very quite good at the game Among Us, so you've all been warned. Thank you, Ollie. Welcome back to the Gold Star podcast. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Among Us in 2025. A few of the regulars who have popped in also. Lewis is here. Always good to see Lewis in the live chat. all the regulars here. Murph's here also.
Can we go back to Jamie
on.
to Lewis for a second when you have a chance? Good to have the Gold Star back. Time for Poi to lead Cosmic Angels into the future. See, now we're speaking my damn language in this chat. Oh, I keep hearing Sayori this, sorry that. No, I'm sorry, not Tsupoi.
Sorry,
not Tsupoi.
That's happening.
I said Saori, and I'm saying it because there's multiple pronunciations of her name. That's why I said both of them.
Okay,
Scotty.
I was just confused.
I was quoting. I was
whoa, what is Jamie doing over
What
here?
is this layout? What is this freaking layout?
I've been ordered by our leader to change the layout. See, I came in and the layout was like this, and I thought, whoa, someone's been fiddling with my layout. But apparently, this is the new direction. So I
Do we have a different background?
Do we need to get a new background?
Well, it is the word from the big man.
All right. Gotcha.
You heard it here first, folks. New background coming soon for the Gold Star Park. Unfortunately, we'll have to make do today with this layout.
I did want to just shout out to Murph's with the message or the comment that he said. That is true. I have been on a roll.
If you're gonna do it for any time, I think this is the one everyone was waiting for. I know it's been a long time coming to finally get to this moment.
Oh, God has it. Oh, God has it, Jamie.
But we're finally here, and we finally get to break it all down. I'm very excited to get into it. So, should we start first with Stardom? And I think we'll kick it off with the main event of All Star Grand Queendom. April 27th, Yokohama Arena. We had 7,503 people in attendance. A huge crowd for Stardom, and a big part of it was the main event. Saya Kamatani defending the World of Stardom Championship against Tam Nakano with not only the red belt on the line, but both careers. And I think, as a lot of people expected, it was Saya Kamatani retaining that title and Tam Nakano's career coming to an end. And before we get into the match and the aftermath, the beautiful retirement moment that we had from Tam Nakano, which is very, very fitting, I believe, for Tam Nakano. I want to give a shout out to the promotion and the build to this match, because I think this show, I'm not sure how much we'll get into sort of the undercard, but when you look at this show, I think it kind of shows the good and the bad of Taro Okada's American brain, because he has a very America-pilled wrestling brain, and I think you saw maybe part of the bad with a lot of the build up to some of the shenanigans going on with maybe Tekla and the stipulations at play there. However, what I will say is the build to this match and the vignettes and Saya Kamatani following Tam Nakano around everywhere. The promotion certainly showed in the crowd investments and the amount of people that came out for this show, and it was clear from the noise in the crowd that this one was the big seller. So, with that being said, I'm going to throw it over first to Six Star to break down this one. I absolutely love this match. I thought it delivered on everything that it was that we kind of expected going in. Six, how much did you enjoy this match, despite the lingering fears of of one of your all-time favorites' careers coming to an end?
It was one of the most dramatic and emotional matches I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. That main event was. We were talking about the main event, right? I just want to double check before I get into this. Okay.
Yeah.
Try and keep up.
Well, that's on me. Okay.
We're actually talking the Tekla match. So we're keeping those words what you said towards that match.
You're hilarious. There really is there are very few big match wrestlers that have the strength of Tam Nakano. But also, I just want to say that this is another wonderful addition to the catalog that has been Saya Kamatani's World of Stardom Championship reign. And it is really magnificent that, because I didn't, if you would have asked me at the end of 2023 or end of 2024 rather, that if I would have thought that Saya could have a title reign that would challenge or be even close to the caliber of her legendary white belt run, I would have, laughed and said no. You know,
She has
I've made
2
my
defenses so far.
yeah, and that's how good they are.
Oh,
If I
they're
can-
fantastic. I just wanted to like point out it's only 2. Like you made it sound like
Yeah.
she's been having 10.
Yeah, and they're
Been
both
fantastic
wonderful.
though. Been fantastic.
So
The Tam
thanks
was
for
a weird
undermining.
starting
Thanks for
position.
undermining my
Oh,
my.
listen, I have been quiet for the past 15 minutes for the most part. I was saying something.
Wonderful, but I'm pretty sure. Jamie, did you not say 6-star?
All right.
6-star talk about the match?
Yeah, we'll throw.
Or did I misunderstand? Did I misunderstand?
We're kicking it off.
Did I misunderstand? Did I misunderstand that the Jamie? Did you say Scott? Did you say open discussion or did you say 6-star? Just remind me what you said there.
Listen,
6-star, can I say one thing?
So I'm glad to see that the team chemistry is over.
6-star, can I say one thing before I let you go?
Yeah, of course, Scotty.
And this is because of what you just said to me. I was going to be nice, but Tam Nakano's career record against Mayu Iwatani. 4-3. All right, thank you.
Oh, okay.
And it's staying that way.
So I do have a clause in my contract that says if I'm disrespected, I can just leave the show. So thank you everybody for coming back to the Gold Star podcast. But this is actually the end of my time here. That being said, I'm going to go back to talking about Tam Nakano for the Saya Kamatani now that I'm not being disrespected. And Scott, don't think I forgot that. So as I was saying before I got so rudely interrupted, this match is really, really. I can't put enough stress onto just how beautifully violent this was. I think it was such a brilliant send off for Tam Nakano, and I think she was able to accomplish the thing that she wanted to do most with her wrestling career, with her retirement, and that is bring Saya Kamatani to the forefront, not just to give her a seat at the table, but for her to be the person who picks up the napkin first, to be the person that leads, not just because she holds the world title, but because she holds the world title, that title now has value, not just because of the work that she's done in terms of presenting herself, but now because of the catalog, the short but very important catalog she's been able to develop holding that belt because of Tam Nakano. She gave her a brilliant crowning moment into becoming the world champion, and she's now gifted her a beautiful, beautiful moment in becoming the top of the card, of being truly someone undeniable in stardom. Tam Nakano's first young girl is the one to end her career, and I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. But for Tam Nakano, for the way that she's so elegantly able to tell a story in and out of the ring, I know people love to make jokes about it, but the various different Twitter threads explaining her connections to her opponents, the way that she's incorporated storytelling in the press conferences, in the match, and the entrances, even in the beautiful, I genuinely think the most beautiful ending to a pay-per-view I have ever seen. It was a perfect send-off for Tam. It had her the trademark physicality and violence that people expect with a Tam Nakano main event, with a Tam Nakano title match. It had the drama and the emotion pouring out the seams, and it was just beautiful. And of course, that ending as the dark feathers fall around her, showing that Saya Kamatani is the one at the top of the promotion, the one to leave the ring with her career intact, as she fades into the darkness, as the darkness that Saya brought out of Tam Nakano in that match, and the light that Tam Nakano shed on Saya with the tears that she shed as the arena goes dark and Tam Nakano fades into the abyss, not to be seen again. What a beautiful, beautiful send-off, and the most impactful and emotional ending to a match, to a pay-per-view, and to a career that I have been able to witness, not just in Joshi, but in wrestling. And for that, I will forever be grateful to Tam Nakano. And I hope that everyone knows that this path that has been paved by Tam, that has been blazed by Tam, this Tam road will forever be walked in honor of her. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yeah, I think I like the emphasis on a lot of the visual elements of this, and especially that end. I think when you kind of, we're going to get into Meiko Satomura's retirement a little bit later in the show, and I think that those two legends retire are kind of two Scott kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, that like two distinct archetypes of Joshi wrestlers whose careers have come to an end. Whereas Meiko is kind of one of the real last bastions of that old fighting spirit era of Joshi wrestling. Obviously, she has many sort of successes coming through, that we see throughout that retirement show. But she's one of the kind of the last of that era to still be towards the peak of her powers going out. And you saw in her retirement, the kind of collective spirit of the whole scene coming together. Whereas Tam Nakano is kind of the sort of the face of the kind of idol style of Joshi wrestling. And I think the kind of the cinematic feel to her send off, no big retirement ceremony as was stipulated. Just that visual to kind of leave us off with. I think it was the perfect touch. I also think Saya Kamatani has probably got the best presentation of any wrestler in the world right now. Her entrance is phenomenal. Everything about her look at the moment is on point. And it's a huge jump from where we all were concerned it was going with Saya when she first had the heel turn. It's a complete 180, and I'm very happy that they've taken this direction. Scott, your thoughts on the final time that we'll see Tam Nakano compete in a ring anywhere?
I've had a lot of chances this week to craft my response, and each time it always comes back to the same thing, and the same thing that is that the greatest contribution Tam Nakano has given to wrestling is Saya Kamatani and this push. Like, there is nothing that Tam has done in her run as a main event star that hasn't benefited Saya Kamatani.
Mm-hmm.
The Wonder of Stardom title reign ultimately ending at the hands of Saya Kamatani, who would then go on to have the record reign as the champion. And then, of course, this entire story, building Saya up from a questionable heel decision to being undeniably the biggest star in Joshi right now. Tam has her fingerprints all over that, and she deserves almost as much credit as Saya does herself for getting us there. In terms of Tam retiring and her match, I have said this, and I mean this in the best way possible. This match could not have been more Tam Nakano. Like, when I say that, I mean that with all the respect in the world, as someone who has seen every major Tam Nakano match. There's highs and lows that come with those, because sometimes you're going to like something, sometimes you're not. But if she didn't go full Tam in her last match, it would have been so upsetting. Like, if she just had like a traditional main event type epic, you would just be like, oh, well, that's not Tam. No, you want every Tam trope there is. Even down to her running down the ramp and hitting the violet chute. Like, if she didn't do that, it would have been wrong, right? She does that in all her big main events. If she didn't do it here, I would have been upset. But I think, honestly, the most beautiful thing of this match was the expectation that Saya Kamatani, who has been heel and pushed through all this way, was going to finally break down mid-match. I had called that because Saya Kamatani is so emotional in all the right ways. Like, it's the reason that when she turned heel, it's like, why? She's such an easy person to cheer for. And it's because they have made this character what it is. It's someone that you're gonna love, but she's gonna be a heel, and that's just the way it goes. But as they're getting ready to slap the taste out of each other's mouths, Saya Kamatani just could not take it. Like, the emotions set in of, this is the end. This is it. And that was the entire story. Is like, this is the last time we are facing, no matter what. And considering everything that Tam has given Saya, and considering the word Saya said before in a tweet that said, I am in pro wrestling because of Tam Nakano, it was really a beautiful, perfect ending. And in many ways, as imperfect as it should have been, to make it perfect. Because when it comes to Tam, you expect so many different things. You expect the drama, you expect maybe overly dramatic, but that's, again, what makes her Tam Nakano. It's why I said at the beginning her and Meiko are so different, and they're both legends in their own rights for various reasons. And I think when this match ends with the Twilight Dream, again, it's that feather in the cap of like, Tam had to lose to her own finisher. Like it just felt right. I will not say anything bad about Tam truly today because one, I already do miss her. Like I watched one of the house shows and I was like, this feels weird. Like this is she's just not coming back. Like that is what this reality is. And the way it all ended, if Tam had a normal ceremony, if Tam had a normal anything, I think again you almost would have had a little bit of disappointment. And I know some people do have a disappointment because they would have loved to see the ceremony. I would have loved to see Arisa Hoshiki bring flowers out to Tam Nakano. I would have cried my eyes out if that happened. But at the same time, this is Tam Nakano. Why? What? She's never done anything by the book. Why start now? Why start when she's wrapping things up? And when she sits there at the top of the ring with Saya pointing, it just brings back all the memories as it goes to darkness. She made a promise that if she lost this match, she would fade away from pro wrestling, never to be seen again. She fades into the darkness, and she's probably not going to be seen anytime soon. It was a brilliant match. It was a brilliant retirement. You'll not get a bad word out of me regarding any of it because it was perfectly Tam. And like I said, it's the reason why I like the Tam Julia match from last year, or not last 2 years ago, last year. When the hell did Julia leave? Last year. The last match they had a 15-minute draw, and a lot of people hated it because like it was so Tam and Julia. And I'm like, no, that's the purpose. Like they had to go over the top, or we're missing the point. And I'm not saying this match went over the top, but it had every Tam trope you'd want. Truthfully, like it had every little bit. And the closing minutes I found super emotional. Two matches were super emotional on the show overall, and you could feel it within the crowd. And honestly, when Saya hit the Twilight Dream, I thought Tam was going to kick out one more time. I just thought, I was sitting there, I was like, I feel like it's got to end, but it didn't. They had an incredible moment in the ring together. They had an incredible moment on top of the stage. And I applaud Tam Nakano for the incredible career she had. As I don't even know if it's arguable, probably the biggest draw in Joshi since AJW, since its peak days. And that is such a credit to her and what she's become.
It's an interesting point you bring up about how big of a draw it is. And I think when you look kind of across Bushi Road as a whole, both Stardom and New Japan find themselves in a bit of a similar situation where obviously Stardom have now lost Tam Nakano and Mayu Iwatani, as we're going to get into. New Japan, obviously they've lost a countless big stars over the years, but they're on the verge of losing Tetsuya Naito, and Hiroshi Tanahashi's retirement is approaching. And I think obviously Naito, you kind of draw the comparisons with Tam Nakano. They're the two names who have been top of the polls in popularity and merchandise sales for some time now. And I think, for Bushi Road as a whole to lose both of them in such short order is it's very interesting timing. I do think, and we're going to get into it, there is a super chat which will lead us into that in a little while. But I think Stardom are better prepared than New Japan for the next era.
For sure.
The youth movement and the stars that they've built. New Japan are in a bit more of a tricky situation when it comes to filling the Tetsuya Naito shaped void. But I think Stardom will be okay. But they will be certainly very different. I loved everything about this match, as both you kind of agree with. The emotion was perfect. It was exactly what you'd imagine a Tam Nakano retirement match to be on her own terms. And not only did they have the trademark emotional traits of a big Tam Nakano match, but the physicality was there. Also, don't let the emphasis on the emotion fool you. There were some headbutts in this that made me wince.
Oh yeah, those were nasty because I literally said to myself, one of you are retiring, not both of you. Let's chill out.
It was beast. It was beast. Y'all are so mad they're about that fucking game. Not you guys. Anyone who complains about headbutts are so mad they're about the game.
Yeah. The brutality of the headbutts was so striking that it made me. I was very surprised earlier today to see Dave Meltzer drop a 5 and 5 1/4 on it, because I know he's not too fond of the headbutts in some of these big matches. So his praise of this. I know you can't take too much from some of the Dave ratings these days, but listen, it's very rare that he goes
A
5
hell of a
on.
week for Dave.
So he went big on this, and I think he was absolutely well within his right to, because this was the perfect send off. Also, touching on the point you made, Scott, about Tam's greatest contribution being Saya Kamatani. I think that the legacy that she'll leave behind is that it will be enhanced so much by what Saya goes on to do, because the way, the trajectory of her career and the fingerprints of Tam Nakano is absolutely all over it. And beyond that, I think just the idol wrestler sort of genre in general, I think will be forever influenced by Tam Nakano's career. So truly one of the legends of Joshi wrestling and Stardom. Of course, it's very difficult to imagine what that promotion will look like without.
I do want to say this. It's something I've seriously thought about, especially this week. I think comfortably I could say that the three of the 4 Mount Rushmore of Stardom is Mayu, is Tam, and is Io. You can pick the 4th. You can pick whoever you want. I don't think those 3 are debatable for all different reasons. But Tam carved her way into that over these past, I'd say, 3 years to by being world champion, by being the draw, and like Six Star said, telling a story that closed her career with the biggest attendance in Stardom history.
Yeah, I don't think you can have any arguments. I think she was kind of approaching that for some time, being in that kind of topic of conversation. But when you look at this era of Stardom, these last few years, which have really been this kind of surge in popularity and eyes around the promotion, she's been up and down some of the biggest moments and storylines in promotion history. The stuff with Julia, everything with Saya, as we've pointed out, the rise of Cosmic Angels. She held both top titles at a time. She is absolutely in that moment. I think it'll be an interesting debate maybe one day. And if you guys want to comment, who do you think that 4th spot belongs to? Because I assume we have no arguments on Mayu, Io, and Tam in those spots. But the 4th position is an interesting one. There's a few contenders. But Six, any closing comments on Tam Nakano or Saya Kamatani before we kind of move on to the second of the 2 major headlines coming out of All-Star Grand Queendom?
What y'all faves know about drawing the biggest house in Stardom history? They don't know nothing about that unless we're talking about Tam Nakano. By the way, just letting y'all know about that one real quick. No, my closing thoughts are that this was something that I'm really glad I got to experience. The career of Tam Nakano is something that's really important to me in my wrestling fandom. If it weren't for Tam Nakano and for Natsupoi and for the Cosmic Angels, I probably wouldn't be watching wrestling still. And so it's because of her that I still get to enjoy this great sport. And it is her greatness that has not just defined my fandom, but has helped define the beauty of professional wrestling. So thank you, Tam Nakano, from me and from my Gold Star co-hosts and the Gold Star fan base. So love Tam.
Yeah, I think we all we kind of echo that sentiment. And speaking of Stardom being forever changed, there's another major headline that certainly made sure that was the case coming out of All-Star Grand Queendom.
Dude, look at the fucking look on Scott's face. This is crazy.
We had the Women's Championship on the line. Mayu Iwatani defending the title against Shuri. And I think it's fair to say that coming into this, a few of us kind of maybe knew the direction of what could be about to follow here. And when Mayu Iwatani made their way to the ring, there was a clear sense of emotion around this one. Shuri would ultimately defeat Mayu Iwatani to capture the IWGP Women's Championship. In the coming days, Mayu Iwatani would announce her departure from Stardom. And then shortly thereafter, she would announce that she had officially signed with Dreamstar Fighting Marigold there alongside Roshi Ogawa on the big man's birthday, may I add. So jovial scenes in the Golden Gardens it was. First, before we get into the kind of everything surrounding Mayu Iwatani and what happened there, we're not going to do a full entire review of All Star Grand Queen, because if you missed it, Scott was live on WrestlePurists Worldwide on Monday, breaking it down alongside Ibu and Anna. So if you haven't already seen that, then go check that out for a bit more in depth on a few of the different matches, and also Scott's done.
I think I only
Well,
talked to Mayu on that too.
Jamie, we're gonna have to, Jamie, you and I gonna have to have a chat about Worldwide, not just encroaching on our fucking brand, but encroaching now on our talent. Like, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's with him? What is with this?
It's scary. He's been very aggressive. Some say he's poaching. Well, we may have to. His contract may be terminated. I have that kind of pull at WrestlePurists, so we'll look into this. But yeah, so if you guys want to,
you're getting out politics, King.
We will, but we'll stop at a few of the different matches. But first, Scott, the match itself and the kind of emotion around it. How do you feel going into this one, and how did the match make you feel as it reached its conclusion?
This will not shock anyone, but the emotions for this match fully kicked in when Mayu made her entrance. Because, I knew very obviously. I don't think that's really a secret. Like, I knew going in this was it, and seeing the emotion on her face and legitimately having tears, it sent me for a second. And there's two sides to every match, and you have to also remember how emotional this was for Shuri, right? She's essentially been, I know a lot of people like to use the word benched these days. She was essentially benched for 2 years, right? She has challenged for a singles title one time since she lost the World of Stardom title in the end of 2022, and that was the IWGP Women's title. And before watching this match, I went back to her her press conference with Sari in the lead up to Sariism, and to see her cry those tears of, I want to get back to the top of Joshi. And, Shuri is someone who is so incredible at her craft, legitimately an all-time great in the ring itself. So there's a lot of emotion there. And seeing Mayu walk down to this ring and hand over that title and see these two stand face to face, I came to the realization before they even went head to head that Mayu found another lifetime opponent in Shuri. This is someone who became her rival just by being great, right? In many ways, being that final boss of Stardom for a good year and a half stretch did Shuri a lot of good, obviously, for her legacy. But I look at that match from last year and I look at this match, and it's just undeniable how truly, truly great these two are together. And as I watch this match, I think I think a lot of people in the building had the realization as well. It was a special feel, it was a certain feel. There was an emotional, and as they wrestled, you were just reminded of greatness. You were just reminded of what these two at their very best are capable of. And I don't think there is more than maybe one or two wrestlers that are on their level when they are at their very best. It was an unbelievable match. It was the more emotional match for me on this night just because of it being Mayu. But let me tell you, having these two matches in a 3-match span was tough, because there's so many emotions that go through your mind, and just sitting there watching Mayu have her last Stardom match after 14 years, Grand Slam winner, every tournament. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I will say this, there is something so fitting for Mayu to, instead of getting, the usual farewell match and the big battle royal, to have one of the great matches in company history and lose the IWGP Women's title in her final match. The post match was so special between the two. And I just got to give a shout out to turn the emotions off for a second. Shout out to Sari for being like, "What are you guys crying about? What's going on here? I'm here to win a belt." So shout out to the Sun God. I just had to get that in there too.
Realest person in wrestling, dude.
She really managed to bring my like emotions, because like I will say this, when Mayu got pinned, I was like, okay, I feel full, I feel complete. This was perfect, right? This was perfect how this ended. And then Sari just like walking in there all pissed off in the entire sweatsuit Sariism. I was like, this is the real, like we're right back into it. And Sari being like, Mayu, I will find you. You can leave, but I'm going to find you. That was also very real. So obviously I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited for the future. But yeah, this match was very, very emotional. It was very, very special to me. It in many ways also felt like a retirement match, just the way they wrestled it, right? Mayu hitting the 2-step and Shuri kicking out and just being like, what now? So shout out to both of them. An incredible match. And these two matches are what makes this the greatest Stardom show of all time and one of the greatest shows of all time, truly.
Yeah, this was truly phenomenal. I mean, we talked a little bit about the physicality in that main event, but some Shuri strikes never fail to to wow me with how hard she goes. But again, like that main event, the emotion of this one was really what took it to that next level. And I kind of all built up into what we got in the post match before Sari before Sari hit the ring, and without it being sort of public knowledge or having been announced beforehand, I think that, like you said, Scott, the moment was kind of conveyed that something huge was happening here. The emotion displayed by Mayu Iwatani. And then Suri hit the ring and it popped everyone. I think the full gear is what really completes it, because there's no one like Suri. As you mentioned, Scott, there being very, very few people on the planet who are on the level of the two in this match. They all
have
Suri
at the same time. The three that I mean,
she's those three are, I could watch any combination of the three of them wrestling forever. So the fact that Suri looks like she's now zoned in again on that IWGP title, she's got Shuri in her sights. It's interesting because I would really like to see Shuri have a long reign with that title after being benched for so long. But also Suri, that title, it feels destined for Suri. So I don't know how long they can keep her away from it, but it's certainly coming. Six, before we get into kind of the aftermath and what it means for Mayu Iwatani going to Marigold, and for Stardom being without Mayu Iwatani for the first time in their history. What do you think of this match? Did you enjoy this one as much as me and Scott did?
This match was fucking awesome. I mean, I thought their IWGP match last year was one of the greatest matches of the year, and I had a really, really good time with this match. I don't think it reached the same heights in terms of like in-ring action for me, but in terms of emotion, to the point that Scott was making, if this wasn't happening on the same night as Tam Nakano's retirement, this probably would be not just the most emotional match of the night for me, but one of the most emotional matches of the week, and it is ultimately still. But it's just wow. These talk about women who have unparalleled chemistry, and it's just like this, to the surprise of nobody, that the two of the realest wrestlers in the world, the hardest striker in Joshi, and the woman who is the modern icon of Joshi wrestling, just having an absolute masterclass in the middle of the ring as not just a farewell to Mayu Iwatani, but as a farewell to each other, as a final feather in the cap for their rivalry, for their time against one another, at least for the time being. And it's just like, man, I really won't. I might not ever get to see these two wrestle ever again, or it might be many, many years in line to get to see them wrestle. And I'm glad I got to experience the match that I did. I think that they gave us a match befitting not just of their rivalry, not just befitting of the end of Mayu Iwatani's legendary Stardom career, but for my point, what might be one of the at least the most important thing from a I guess, booking or kayfabe standpoint, is the ending to the longest ever IWGP title reign, not just IWGP women's title, IWGP title reign, period, outlasting the legendary 700 plus day career of Kazuchika, a 700 plus day reign of Kazuchika Okada with the IWGP heavyweight V4. This is the longest ever IWGP title reign, and to Mayu Iwatani's credit, making a belt that Bushiroad forced onto Stardom and New Japan, a belt that New Japan very clearly did not want to exist, and making the belt something that doesn't just feel like a belt was challenging for, but rather feels like felt like the premier belt in the promotion at many points throughout Mayu's reign. She turned that belt into something truly legendary. She solidified that championship, and to have Shuri win it, to have it be treated as big of a deal as it is by Shuri, is something that to me feels very, very, very important. Feels very, very, very inspiring for the way that this belt is going to be treated moving forward. And of course, the realest wrestler alive today, Sari, making the IWGP belt feel not just like the most important title to her, not just the most important title in Stardom, but the most important title in wrestling to go after, because that is what Sari does. Sari puts her eyes on a belt, puts her eyes on a talent, puts her eyes on a promotion, and suddenly it's the biggest thing in wrestling. And that is because Sari is just the realest that there is. Everyone make sure to send in super chats so that we can get Scotty one of those lovely tracksuits that Sari was repping. The Scottyism tracksuits will be coming #soon. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on that match. Sorry for yapping there.
Oh, good. I think the way in which Mayu sort of transformed the image of that IWGP women's title is, it's one of my favorite title reigns in wrestling in some time, and that kind of goes again. It's this, in spite of Bushiroad not really showing that title much love, never really featuring it on the New Japan shows themselves, which of course you would assume were intended for.
2 total in 2 years.
when you look at the two that came before Mayu, Kyrie and Mercedes, of course, great wrestlers in their own right, but they never really had the we're able to deliver a title reign of this level just because of the way the title was handled. But now, as you pointed out, Six, the title really feels like something worthwhile for wrestlers of the caliber of Shuri, of a Suri, to be hunting down. And Mayu Iwatani's the work she's put in over these past 2 years has elevated that to that level.
She willed it to greatness. Like no matter what New Japan, Bushiroad, whoever wanted to treat this title, she willed it to greatness. As my guy Walker Stewart said, in her title reign, she beat people who are currently employed in Stardom, Marigold, AEW, and WWE, all in one title reign. She beat them all, and she left one final great reign in her Stardom career till the very final day. And I think that is, again, why I call her the greatest of all time. Everything matters, right? I'll talk about her last year in Stardom overall, but in a second here. But I just need to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I? Sorry, you get what you're saying, now, Jamie.
Sorry, not only did she beat people who now wrestle, all across the wrestling world, she beat people who now holding the top prizes in wrestling, right across the world. Right, you think of Tony Storm, Utami Hayashishita, all these top champions right across the wrestling world. You look at that defense record from Mayu Iwatani, and it's pretty flawless. Before we move into, I have a super chat that is going to lead us into the first part of the conversation surrounding Mayu.
Wait! Before you do that, can I say one more thing about this?
Go ahead.
Shuri, one of the greatest wrestlers of the modern age who, when given the ball, is literally the best active wrestler in the world. And I have said that multiple times, and I stand by that. I said this every single time I talk about Shuri. Go back and listen to the Gold Star podcast every single episode, and I assure you I'll say that at least one time. I say it very frequently that when Shuri is given the ball, when Shuri is allowed to go, she is the best wrestler in the world, literally second to none. Sorry, Sari, sorry, Mayu, sorry, any other, sorry, Mercedes, sorry, men's wrestlers, I guess. No one touches Shuri when she's allowed to be in top form. And that being said, is not just one, but two promoters kept her benched for 3 years after her legendary World of Stardom title reign. That is arguably a top 5 World of Stardom title reign, which is what made Shuri the Wrestler of the Year of 2022. And she was benched for 3 years by two promoters, by the way. And it took Sari, the realest there is, by the way, to be like, no, you're the strongest wrestler in Joshi. You're actually the biggest threat one can face. It took Mayu Iwatani leaving Stardom for a promotion to even give Shuri the slightest amount of respect that she deserves. And I think that is so unfortunate. I really do. And I'm really glad to see Shuri with the title, and I'm really happy to see Sari chasing it. But I hope that Shuri is able to actually have a fruitful reign. It doesn't have to be a long one. It doesn't have to be an extended one, but she has to be allowed. I want her to be allowed to show everyone why she is considered by myself and many others to be one of the most integral parts to any promotion that she can be a part of when she's allowed to go. And that's the last thing I wanted to say on that match. Sorry, I just really love Shuri.
Yeah, we've been shouting the the Shuri praise from the rooftop sometimes. It's very, I think we're all very excited to see her finally back, right at the top, where she belongs. We have a comment here: would Shuri benefit from going to another promotion, international? Maybe if you'd have asked us a few a few weeks back, a few months ago, I think our answer would have been a little bit different. I'm looking forward to this IWGP title reign, so I want to let her cook. Although saying that, if Shuri was to go freelance, I think there would be a few exciting opportunities and big matches that we could have. But I'm hoping that the upcoming road to the Shuri rematch is something worthwhile and something we can finally sink our teeth into. I'm sure it'll be very exciting. Now, there are 3 parts to the Mayu Iwatani conversation that I want to have. One of them involves a super chat, but that's going to be part 2. Before we get into the aftermath in Stardom and what it means for her move to Marigold, I want to first quickly just talk about Mayu Iwatani in Stardom. 14 years, been there since the inception of the promotion. Very much feels like the essence of the promotion itself. The icon of Stardom isn't just a nickname. She's been there and been integral to Stardom for all 14 of these past years. Everything that she's done to achieve this greatest of all time status have happened within the Stardom ring. The Grand Slam champion, as you pointed out before, Scott, held every title and delivered fantastic reigns with all those top belts. Her influence over the next generation, the generation after that in Stardom, also very evident to see, and that even stretches beyond Stardom itself now. And as with Tam Nakano in everything that she's become and how important she became to Stardom, I think it's kind of mind-boggling to think about what a Stardom looks like without Mayu Iwatani, and we're going to sort of get into that in our next conversation. But first of all, Scott, as the kind of face of Mayu Iwatani PR, the biggest pusher of her as the greatest of all time. I know you've covered in depth extensively on about 1 million videos this news over the past week, but for our viewers here today, can you kind of sum up how important Mayu Iwatani is to you as a fan and to Stardom overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me as a fan, I am not doing this without Mayu Iwatani. Plain and simple. I'll make that very clear. I'm not covering Joshi. I may not have been watching wrestling anymore. for those who don't know, when I was about to fall out of wrestling, thanks to Io Shirai, I'll give her a lot of credit too, I got into Stardom, and instantly Mayu became my favorite, and it has led me to here. If without Mayu and her greatness, this is not something I'm doing. I'm not covering it. I am not doing everything in my power to cover it. So I think that stresses enough why she's my favorite and why she will always be, and why I call her the greatest of all time is for 14 years in Stardom. She was the heart and soul. She was the icon. She was the company. Through the ups, the downs, she was always the one there. And I think that can't be stressed enough, especially for those who became fans of Stardom post Bushi Road and maybe didn't go back and see how many times she had to come through for this company. When Io Shirai left, when Kairi Hojo left, she was the one that stepped up each and every time. And she was never the chosen one. I think the reason I appreciate these new young rookies in wrestling so much is because they're so good already. Mayu Iwatani was not great from day one.
Mhm.
She has said this many times. She almost retired multiple times. It just was something that she kept working at and working at and working at. But I will always say this, as someone who has watched Mayu Iwatani's first match and many of her early matches, you could always see there was something there. It just had to be unlocked. And like I said, she was never the chosen one, but she became the one in Stardom. There is no greater star in Stardom's history. I'm sorry to Io. I'm sorry to Tam. I'm sorry to the many others. But when you are there from day one and you carry the torch for 14 years, and even in your last year where you probably didn't want to be there and you have that run, there is something special about that. Two-time World of Stardom champion, two-time Wonder of Stardom champion, the first ever to hold both belts at the same time. 5-star Grand Prix winner, two-time Cinderella winner, artists, goddesses, high speed, SWA, IWGP. The list goes on and on and on. She's done it all. She is also, I think, the only Joshi wrestler to defend a championship in Madison Square Garden and the Tokyo Dome. I think. Which either way, incredible accomplishment, obviously, for her. And she has done it all here in Stardom. And it's the reason why I was so emotional watching that last match. Is you just remember everything she's done, every time she's come through, every time she's stepped up. And the craziest thing to think is, when she became double champion all those years ago, she was far from how great she is now. Like, that's the crazy part about how good she was then and how great she's become now. So Stardom without Mayu is not a world that existed until literally days ago. It is not a world I know. It is not a world that I it's not even a world, it's not something I can just sit here and say, oh, everything will be fine. I know a lot of people have been saying that. I'm not going to sit here and I can't lie. I don't know. I've never seen it, and Stardom's going to be great. They'll be great. They have the backing, they have the young talent, but they've never not had Mayu Iwatani. And I just think that is even when the people from Marigold left, who was part of stepping up, it was Mayu Iwatani.
Yeah.
And I think that is, again, a credit to her. I believe in Stardom. I believe in those talent. I will always, always, always support these wrestlers. But like I've been saying all week, this isn't promotional battle to me. I don't really care. It's all about Mayu. And before we'll get to the Marigold stuff and why I am so happy, but it was a 14-year run that will never be replicated. It'll never be replicated. And it's the reason Stardom is as popular as it is now, because she saved this company so many times.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to her. Shout out to her incredible run. There's a reason, despite all the happiness that she has in her heart, very clearly, that she was so emotional, and it's because of what she has done as the icon of Stardom for so long.
Yeah, she's been the constant presence for 14 years throughout, the inception of the promotion, departures, scandals, tragedy, the rise of the promotion to the heights it is now. Mayu Iwatani's been there, and she's been at the center of this promotion. And now we're going to get a glimpse into what a Stardomless, a Mayu Iwatani-less Stardom looks like, which is going to be very fascinating to get into. Before we kind of move towards that. 6, Mayu Iwatani. Scott's just he's kind of covered a lot of bases there. It was only right that I kicked off with Scott. But any broad thoughts on Mayu Iwatani, her time in Stardom, but her importance, to you as a wrestler? Take it away.
There is not a single wrestler in my lifetime that feels as integral to a company as Mayu Iwatani did and does to Stardom. And I mean across all promotions, across continents and oceans. There's not a single wrestler who feels more integral to promotion than Mayu did to Stardom. Stardom as we know it today doesn't exist without Mayu Iwatani. And for all of the, I don't like to, I'll bring it up because as much as I don't care for it, but like a lot of the really kind of just like weird and annoying people, and the way people have been talking about Mayu since she left, and it's just like I can't see how anyone could do anything but celebrate the career that was Mayu's Stardom career. It is one of the most legendary runs for any Joshi wrestler in a Joshi company of all time. I would argue it's the most legendary career in a specific promotion in Joshi history, because through those 14 years, and for those of you who have not gone back and watched Stardom from its inception, I fully recommend that you do. It's something that I have gotten the pleasure of doing over the last few years. And let me tell you that the way that Stardom builds Mayu Iwatani and then Mayu Iwatani builds Stardom, it's indescribable, really, truly. The Mayu Iwatani we know today doesn't exist without Stardom. But on that same note, when Mayu Iwatani finally, gets the ball and gets to take it, when she finally gets the chance to shine, she has defined what Stardom has become, which it has meant to not just be a Stardom wrestler, but to be a Joshi wrestler in the modern age, in the 2010s into the 2020s. And oh my goodness, I think about the matches she had as part of Thunder Rock. I think about the matches she had with Oroha, the matches she had with Io, the matches she had with Shuri, the matches she's had across her career. And I just can't think of anyone, not a single wrestler, who feels near even half as vital to not just the continued existence of a promotion, but to the very core of what that promotion represents in the wrestling scene as Mayu is to Stardom. Mm-hmm. And I would love nothing more than to go into hours and hours of specific ways in which Mayu Iwatani's Stardom career has personally impacted.
Ow.
What just happened?
I don't know. Hope 6 stars okay. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
That
sounded like a fire alarm.
Yeah. I hope 6 is okay.
I did too.
Too serious.
We'll carry this on as 2 for now.
Yeah. The Wyatt 6 got him. That's what happened there. But yeah, I mean, just to echo the sentiment of the pair of you with Mayu Iwatani, kind of linking back to the comparison I made, talking about Tam and Naito, the Mayu Iwatani is very much the essence of Stardom in the sense that the Hiroshi Tanahashi is for New Japan. For anyone that's more on the kind of puro side of things, if you want that comparison in terms of how important Mayu Iwatani is to this promotion and the image of the promotion. There is no Stardom without Mayu. Truly, I echo both of you in saying that. But in saying that, the career of Mayu Iwatani has allowed for there to be a Stardom after Mayu Iwatani, because as much as she built the promotion to the point it is, she also created this legacy, carved out this path to where now there is this influx of talent that are ready to take the mantle, that have had interactions and matches with Mayu Iwatani throughout the years, that have benefited from being in and around the icon of Stardom. And as we're about to get into next, we're going to look at where Stardom goes from here, and then of course the exciting, maybe the more exciting part is where Mayu Iwatani goes from here. But 14 years of excellence in Stardom.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating to see where we go. I'm not too sure when Six will be rejoining us. But,
No. We'll roll
so
forward.
We'll have to monitor that situation. But for now, I think we'll jump in. We have 2 super chats, but one of them I think is going to shape a lot of where we go next. And then there's this one right here. Iggy with the $5 super chat. Thank you. As always, for anyone with the super chats, we appreciate them very much. So, Iggy's with Stardom heading in a new era, what are some angles and developments you guys are excited or concerned about? I think this topic will allow us a little bit to kind of breeze through the rest of All Star Grand Queendom, because as much as they were those 2 incredibly emotional matches that kind of grabbed all the headlines.
Great question, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a big part of in its essence of what this week has been for Stardom. A lot of questions about the future, but I think when you look towards All-Star Grand Queendom, of course, you've already talked about Saya Kamatani and everything that Tam Nakano has done to kind of build her up as a real top star across the wrestling world in general, a real draw as shown by that show. You had star like Hidden Azumi in the co-main event for the white belt, who are both continuing to be elevated. Shuri back on top. FWC, who we will show, FWC and Wingori, their match was,
awesome.
It was awesome. It was everything we'd kind of hoped and anticipated, considering the build-up, because there was some.
Yeah.
It was real spicy in the build-up, particularly with Hazuki and Hanan, and Wingori coming away with those titles. I think you look at those 2. Hanan in particular as someone who is going to be a big part of Stardom's future. Of course, 2 wrestlers who spent a long time under the wings of Mayu Iwatani, so there's that legacy again carrying on throughout for the future of the promotion. You've Suzuki back in.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to talking about this one. I'm sure you agree with me, Scott. A long time coming. It felt like we saw Suzu again.
Yes.
For so long, obviously, kind of ever since the everything that happened with Maika and the decision to go with Maika. As Tam Nakano dropped that red belt. Since then, she kind of felt like an afterthought in the promotion. She was a member of Neo Genesis, a faction built around the future of the promotion, and will continue to be so influential in where Stardom goes from here. And if you'd have put that faction together on paper, before that moment, before she lost to Maika, I think most people would have assumed she was the leader, right? Because she was on the trajectory to be the Red Belt champion. She was, when she was a major coup for Stardom as someone who's
she had full support of the previous regime, we'll say.
Yeah.
To the point where she was very clearly going to be the Red Belt champion. And it's why I look at her 2024 as a mulligan year for her, because imagine being pushed in that direction and then it all kind of comes crashing down on you. Like, how could you how could you want to remain focused? How could you want to push yourself when you're very clearly getting sent down the card as well? And she had an injury, so that hurt too. Oh, thank God, Six is back.
Six is
Six,
back.
are you okay?
So, like as I was saying, yeah, Mayu Iwatani's career and stardom is just something.
Obviously, we moved on, but shouts out.
No,
Six, I do want to ask you about this question because this is something that you and me have talked about privately in terms of the new era and direction of stardom.
I have some
because-
thoughts. I have some
Yeah,
thoughts.
I know you do. And I want to shout out Iggy here one more time because I think there's things to be excited about. I think there's things to be concerned about. Obviously, Jamie was really listing, like, we have Suzuki now kind of back at the top of the world, which is great. Shout out to Starlight Kid and Azumi. Obviously, Hanan's very much a exciting one. Now, here's one of my concerns, naturally, and this is to give credit to Tam Nakano. Storyline wise, she has essentially been the main story since Taro Okada took over. Like, there's been, like, in terms of stories, that has kind of been the one. I don't know what storytelling and anything with Tam has essentially been part of her story, right? Sayaka Kara winning the Cinderella was part of Tam's story, in my opinion. Meiko even winning the 5-star, right? Undefeated, ended up being part of Tam's story as world champion. So one of the things I'm naturally concerned about is the storytelling, because now you don't have Tam kind of leading the way, and kind of very, very clearly paving her own way to help.
Very clearly, by the way.
Yeah, there's no part of me that thinks anyone besides Tam wrote this story. And it worked out perfectly for her, right? So that is one of my concerns. And 6-star, I know you have a big concern as well. So I will just hand it over to you in terms of what you're excited about, what you're concerned about. There's a lot to be excited about, though. They have such an incredibly young core, and now they have to step up, and I think they will.
Yeah. I would just like to very quickly state, I mean, I don't have original thoughts. I think Jamie and Scott have done a good job laying out the very, very exciting things for Stardom in terms of the young guns stepping up and getting spots on the card. Cosmic Angels, despite losing Tam, I think is still in a really good spot. It's a very good, strong faction.
Push
and I'm excited
Sakura,
to see.
baby.
Oh yeah.
Oh, to the moon.
She's in
Sakura versus Sari, by the way.
That's the real.
Yeah, I'm just very much looking forward to that, especially Natsupoi. Even if she isn't the next leader, I'm just excited to see Natsupoi step into this new Kozuin without Tam, because I think that there's a lot to offer. She has a lot to offer. Obviously, so does Saudi, and obviously so does the very lovely Young Angels. That being said, I have a concern. That I haven't really gotten off in public, and that I think we need to talk about. And that is the current Stardom schedule and the current state of injuries and health in Stardom World Wonder Ring. And I'm not saying this to shit on the promotion. I'm not saying this in any way, shape, or form that I want it to be seen as me trying to negatively talk about the promotion, because I know a lot of times when you critique Stardom, people love to get very, very defensive about it, because for some reason people think that the Joshi industry leader is an underdog in the scene. But that being said, these wrestlers are very clearly being overworked, and it has led to multiple injuries and time off.
I have the list in front of me, by the way, for when you're done.
Some injuries less serious, some more so. Say what you would like to say about Maika, but she is one of their top stars in the promotion, and she is now gone for the foreseeable future because of an injury that she has been dealing with since last year, that she hasn't been able to take time away from, and that has been exacerbated due to the intense schedule. Do you want to know how many events they had in April? They had 11 different events across 2 different continents. And within that, every single wrestler wrestled at nearly every single event, especially those who are more recognizable names. And that is not sustainable. In 2023, when they were having multiple shows a week during 5-star season in the summer of 2023, when we had that injury bug that was plaguing the roster, we pointed out how this was unsustainable, and the wrestlers agreed. we have now returned to a schedule that is not only comparable to that's the rigorous schedule they were dealing with. We are also seeing a state of injuries that is comparable to the state of injuries that we saw in 2023. And I'm very worried that people have not been talking about this. I'm very worried for the wrestlers. And of course, I'm not trying to concern troll. I'm not trying to put my safety cap on. Obviously, wrestlers are responsible for themselves and for their actions. But at the same time, the promotion itself is putting too much work onto the shoulders of the wrestlers. That's just a fact. I'm seeing these matches. I'm seeing these wrestlers. Put a bunch into it. Especially, there are wrestlers who put. There's some wrestlers who, and obviously I understand, half-ass it on house shows, and that makes sense. But there are wrestlers who put everything into it. I'm really concerned about the likes of Starlight Kid, who is on the run of her life right now, but because of that is not able to take proper time off to heal her injuries. She came back early from her injury time away because Stardom needed her, because they're running too many shows and these shows need their draws. So what you need to do is be able to make it not only create an ecosystem where your top stars can take some time away from the ring, but also you want to be running less shows so that there's less chances that your stars will either injure themselves, period, or exacerbate their injuries. I'm seeing here in the comments, my Iggy, 4 shows after All-Star Grand Queendom, 4 shows after the week, 4
And
shows
Golden
in the week after. And that makes sense, right? In Golden Week, that's expected. Golden Week should be the exception, not part of this larger rule, because we've had, look back to their, guys, they've been, this schedule is too intense. It's too intense. And it's just like, not every single month should have a week like Golden Week. I get why Golden Week has to happen, but Golden Week needs to, in order for a Golden Week to work, for these kinds of schedules to justify themselves, it means that wrestlers need to be working less matches, not more, leading into Golden Week. And that's not what I'm seeing. Were so many shows done in April, and as much as I love watching them wrestle, and I'm saying this as someone who watches, and Scott can attest to this, I watch literally every single Stardom show at one point or another throughout the year. Like, I may not always be on top of the schedule, but by the end of the year, I'll have watched at the 95% of shows, because that's what I love to do. I love to see the development of young stars. I talk about it a lot. I love house show style of wrestling. It's one of my favorite ways to consume Joshi. But that being said, not just for me, right? I mean, less shows to watch would be easier for me, but I'm seeing these wrestlers, the important wrestlers, in and out of injury, coming back early, and I become really worried, because this was a major problem just literally a little under 2 years ago, and I'm seeing that same thing repeat itself, and it's something that I don't think has been getting enough attention, and I don't think and that I don't think has been properly addressed within the promotion or the fans of the promotion, at least on the West, on at least among the Western continents, and
I'll say this: the injury bug happens. That's natural in wrestling, right? We've seen it through the years with multiple promotions. At the end of last year, for example, Marigold went through the same thing. End of last year into the beginning of this year, but it comes down to schedule for sure, and you just want them to be safe. The current injuries, and this and some of this happens in training. Like, some of these injuries have happened in training, so again, that's part of it. But everyone that is out of action right now, or going to be, we'll include Micah in this just for the sake of the conversation. She wraps up on the 6th before taking her time off, because obviously she's going to wrestle in Fukuoka. But it is, and this is up until the 6th. So these are people that will not be on the Fukuoka show, or it's Micah. But it's currently Ami Sourei, who should be back soon. Xena, who's been out for quite some time. Ane Kanaya, Matoi Hamabe, Momo Watanabe, who is out indefinitely with an ankle injury and has come back sporadically over the past month or two, which has been odd, obviously. Hanan is out until at least the Fukuoka show. Mei Sarah is out until at least the Fukuoka show. Kyoko Kotatsu as well. I don't know where she is. She had the one match and disappeared. I don't know if that's an injury or not, but she is in absence as well. So yeah, there is a lot of names there. and I just wanted to give the idea for 6 stars point.
Yeah,
and if I can bring up one quick statistic before we
Mhm.
continue, I just did the math, and Stardom is averaging 10.5 shows per month in 2025, with 10. Well, I believe it's 10 in February and March, and 11 in January and in April. For reference, they have done roughly 43 events in this calendar year, and I'm not trying. And comparing that to Marigold, and I'm not doing that as any, again, I'm not trying to do any troubles and things, but I'm just another Joshi promotion. They have done just under 30 shows. And like Scott said, there was an issue with overbooking shows for Marigold last year that resulted in some time away from wrestlers. So again, no promotion is exempt from this treatment for anyone who might be weird and listening and thinking that I'm trying to gotcha a promotion. Despite the fact that Stardom is my favorite promotion in the world. Unless we count Tsurism, then it's Tsurism. But it's just, that's not a sustainable schedule, and it's just like, if they don't address this soon, we're looking at a potentially very scary 5-star season.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah,
Jamie, I'll let you get into what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I like the point that you mentioned about the Marigold comparison, but and addressing that it's not agendas, because it was an issue under Rossi's regime in Stardom, and it was addressed when the regime changed, and we seem back to sort of square one. With...
And I'll just say this: it's a Bushiroad thing at the end of the day. They're the ones scheduling these shows. That's not, again, not a shot at Taro or anything.
Yeah, it's
that's why Julia. I know people either don't like her or whatever, but that's why Julia, on her way out, spoke up at that Bushiroad meeting. If you remember that, she was like, "We need help. Like, we need to stop."
Yeah.
And she had one foot out the door, right? Like, she was gone, but she still said it. And I think Kadani was there, so it was like, I'm saying it to you, the president. Like, we need to chill out.
Yeah, it's clearly a Bushiroad thing, and we just kind of spoke briefly about some of the the names we're excited for in Stardom, and it feels like we barely scratched the surface of the depth of
for sure,
the talent in the roster. So not only can they like limit the amount of shows that they need to do each month, but also like you can like interchange the people that you don't, maybe not everyone has to be on absolutely every single show going 100% a full, because it's that's certainly another issue. It feels like there's very few times for these talents to rest and recover. Maika's about to take time off, and it feels like she's been banned up for
I think
years.
She's had her elbow taped for 3 years.
It's crazy, and because of the nature of the schedule and
her push came at a time where she was like, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, it's been a real issue now for some time, and I think all three of us are in agreement that it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, and it's one of the biggest concerns that we have for the promotion moving forward. Outside of the the change in landscape, it's just a kind of company wide issue. So yeah, it's something that we're just gonna have to continue to monitor in the next few weeks and months and see. Hopefully, this kind of injuries, crisis they're going through right now, and the absentees maybe will give them the push to realize that there's there's an issue in their scheduling. But we'll see how that develops. But we urge them to make that change.
I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're here to support wrestlers. Right.
Yeah,
that's matter. We're supporting the wrestlers, and obviously, I want to see them all healthy. The Momo Watanabe one has been the most odd one, because she got reportedly hurt in that Mercedes match. Came back, got hurt, came back, got. It's like, it's hard. Hers has been confusing, and as Six said, Starlight Kid's very clearly still injured.
Yeah, Momo's injury was one that was very noticeable in the match that she got here with that ankle injury. So it's just to see her kind of back so soon, but then in and out of matches.
Now, do I think she just came back to get the big Queendom payday? Sure, good for you.
And which I respect.
Yes, I felt bad for Tora and Konami, who had to miss it because I think they were sick. So, but yeah, we're just wishing them all the best in their health. And I am excited for the new era because, like I said, there's a lot of really cool wrestlers that get to step up into new spots. I mean, we're watching Sayaka Carrara challenge for the World of Stardom title. Something I pitched once upon a time when we were talking about the Cinderella tournament, and I forgot about it. So good for her. And they're putting Hanako into the Wonder Stardom title. See, they're pushing the new young crew, which is good because that is what they need to do, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah, it's like when I kind of went through the bigger names on the All-Star Grand Queendom card as well. Like I said, there was a lot of the undercard there that I didn't touch on, and you kind of pointed out a few of those names. Aya Sakura is one that I think we all agree should most certainly be a big part of the future for Stardom. And Rina is still to be elevated at some point. We've had she's no longer, of course, the future Stardom champion. Hopefully, she can kind of make her way up the card because we've seen from her a white belt challenge that she's more than ready for the challenges that should be coming her way. So hopefully we see more of her. And like I said, the depth of talent in Stardom is so deep that they will be fine.
To pop the people. You can push Hazuki. I mean, I don't expect it, but you can. I'm just saying.
Bro.
I don't think anyone would be.
Hey, Azumi's right there too.
Hey, well, she just had a Wonder match at least.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm just, I mean, Hazuki's just the one that people like to bring up, and I'm like, I'm losing hope,
And then,
but they can do it
for sure. The final
point can be their Goto.
Oh yeah, we need that. The Hazuki title, the World Star, the World of Stardom title win. That would be the same kind of jovial feel in the Joshi space. I think that could be, if you're looking for a way to after these two big departures, kind of light a fire under. Not that the Stardom needs a fire lit under them because they're in a really hot moment, but I think a Hazuki title win at some point in the future would be
maybe somewhere down the line.
Yeah, if it break glass in case of emergency, we crack out the Hazuki title win, and we're
literally
back
never been cracked open by
Stardom. Hazuki fans, I've got some bad news.
And the last
point probably should go to Momo fans too, by the way.
Yeah.
Momo fans, I've got some bad news. Azumi fans, I've got some bad news.
This has been a great super chat.
Saya Ida fans.
So this has been a great super chat. We thank you, Iggy, for the generous super chat.
An hour and a half. Sorry, 6.
Directing the conversation. And the last point I'll make on this, and I'll bring 6 back to discuss it, is the change in the faction landscape after these two departures. I think will be an interesting one to consider also. I think maybe Cosmic Angels' solution is a little bit easier to point out if they're going to stay together. I think kind of Natsupoi makes all the sense in the world to take the lead there. Soriano's also there. So they've got more than enough big names in there.
Both of them.
Yeah, co-leadership. They're running their own shows together now, so I can see, both steering that ship together. I think, of course, they've got the that young Cosmo and core also, Aya Sakura and Sayaka Carrara. Yuna Mizumori, I'm a big fan of also. So I think they'll be more than fine. Stars, I think, will be a very interesting case. Of course, FWC mentioned after All-Star Grand Queen, and maybe they're going to, maybe their roles aren't, they don't need to be as necessary to Stardom anymore. We'll see what that means for them moving forward. Will they be more on a freelance basis? How much?
Bring 6 back.
Well, we need to make sure he's 6 is served the time. It's very serious. Cutting me off on more than one occasion. You have to make sure everyone remembers who's the fucking boss around here. So 6, are you ready to re-engage in this conversation? We're just speaking about. I'm sure you heard the direction of the two factions in the aftermath.
And EXV, they're down to 2 right now.
Yeah, it's
3.
Well, that's a whole different. It's a whole different case entirely. Actually, there,
Jamie.
It's very dire.
In my years in the internet wrestling community, I have been subject to racism to transphobia, to homophobia, to the point where I deleted my public accounts, by the way. And I don't think I've ever been as disrespected as you talking about the future of Kozuin while putting me on the bench.
Listen.
So, no, listen. No, you listen. No, you
Okay.
listen. So, yeah, you guys kind of said everything I would have said. Natsupoi and Saudi are the two obvious call-ups for the leadership position. I've actually floated the idea of them being dual leaders. I think that would make sense considering both of them kind of over the last year and a half have felt equally as important to Kozuin, whether either of them held the white belt or not. They've both felt like Tam Nakano's respective right and left hand, Tam Nakano's 2A, 2B. And I think it would be befitting of the two of them to engage in a co-leadership position, mostly because they share a single brain cell. I mean, there was 3 between Tam, Saudi, and Natsupoi, and Tam always had one, and Saudi and Natsupoi kind of just the other one would switch between their brains back and forth. And so I think, to me, what makes the most sense is actually them both leading together. I also think it'd be a really cool visual and can be a way to like further lift up the tag division if you have 2 leaders of a promotion treating those belts as a top prize that they are, which isn't to say that the current champions aren't and that Stardom hasn't done a good job of highlighting their tag division. It's just I think that the tag division is always stronger when Kozuin's involved in it, even whether they're champions or not. And I think that a way to make it feel even better is to have people who are considered the leaders of the faction going for it. But that being said, yeah, I think Stars is in a pickle. I mean, it's
Stars
like
is not fine.
Stars, like even like not even considering the like storyline stuff that's been going on with Stars. You know, between storyline, quote unquote. You know, it's just like, what is Stars without Mayu Iwatani? It's nothing.
Not a faction as far as I'm concerned.
And I think that there's going to be a lot of faction shakeup. Specifically looking at, you know, the implosion of Crazy Star and what Suzu Suzuki is going to be doing. All I'm saying is there are a lot. I don't think I speak alone when I say an FWC Suzu Suzuki faction would be legendary. I don't think I'm alone in feeling that way. I think that it could be really important. And I think that there's a reason why Suzu went off on her own. I don't think Suzu will be on her own for very long. I think Suzu is going to.
She's not alone. She has her own faction. True. Just like she has a rookie that's always there though. That is the problem. So she is. It's weird.
She's got a faction, but there's going to be a void because some of the core members
around for core.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is Suzu's faction is going to. I think that Suzu's faction is playing into the shakeup.
Yeah, you're definitely cooking. They are teaming this week for Golden Week. Those 3. So
I can see the vision. I think. Yeah. So Stars potentially breaking apart. We'll see where. Obviously,
Mean Koguma pops me.
Oh my god.
Mean bear.
She's gonna do her little emote, but with like a growl.
Again, the heel.
I just realized I don't have my camera turned on. I did do the emote with a growl, so you guys must imagine that.
I know we have another super chat that Jamie's been trying to get to, so I'm gonna let him do it.
Yeah, well, no, I just thought that was an interesting way to wrap up the conversation with the faction thing. EXV's cooked, so we'll see what happens there. There could be a few other free agents floating around on the faction market coming up. The other super chat I had, if I can get up to where it went. Here it is, very professional. I'm Lost Darwin with a $5 super chat. Thank you again for all the super chats tonight. The Gold Star podcast is Ichiban, then, now, forever. Together. Yes.
Oh, well,
No.
you gotta stop.
We're
Or
all-
you gotta be stopped.
Yes, we're all back. It's great to be back. We kicked off 2025 with the new positive
Started
attitude.
hot.
To our podcast. We were on riding hot, multiple episodes across a few months, and then academic crackdown on me and Six. It's kind of brutal. Kind of but both at the same time. Simultaneously, we were hit with university deadline after university deadline.
Actually, Jamie got silently suspended. Actually, but he's just making
Yeah.
an excuse.
Yeah. That being said, hey chat, we should throw some congratulations in the chat for me because I submitted my senior project this week.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. Congratulations.
Can we get
Six.
some poise in the chat for me completing
Yes.
my
I'll
senior
even put one
project?
on the screen. Point on the screen.
Get the poise in the poise on the screen, poise in the chat for Six. That I also got my last my last deadline.
What do we want you to? What do we want to give you?
So
Then?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what the fuck's my gimmick. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
identity
that's
crisis.
true. Okay, so funny you say that. I had a good bit today, like how I'll follow whatever Mayu does. 6-star will follow whatever Kozen does, and then I was like, I think Jamie just follows like Mo Salah or something. Like I have no idea. what your gimmick is.
Yeah. Get some like can we have some red? Get some red in the live chat. Just some like red emojis. Just get that going.
Red for Manchester United, of course.
Oh no.
That
Liverpool.
sounds like a bad thing to
Liverpool
say.
20 times now.
Don't be mean to me. I am a Manchester United fan.
I don't know the difference, to be fair. So I'm useless here.
Yeah, Liverpool were bad for a while. Now they're good. Man United were good for a while. Now they're bad. That's what you need to know. in the modern era, we're back.
Well,
So
thank you, Anwar, for the super chat.
Yes.
Super
Yes.
happy to be back. The Gold Star podcast is thriving, and there'll be another episode in like hopefully
Couple
sooner
months,
than
you know?
hopefully soon.
couple months maybe we'll be back.
In a decade.
I'm free as a bird. I hope to be back in and around every
All right,
week.
Julia.
There's stuff to
Maybe
talk
we
about.
might have to switch the day though, to be honest, because I'm moving back home, and I'll be on a different coast, and I'll have a full-time job. So
Okay,
It's a lot of messiness right there.
we'll have a talent meeting and discuss the future of the Gold Star podcast soon. But yes,
And now forever and over.
yeah. No, that's it. It's the last. Welcome back to the Gold Star
We're-
podcast. It's the last one. Now, yeah, thank you all.
We didn't get to 10.
Thank you all for the super chats throughout the show. If anyone's got any more questions,
Hey, can I talk about Mayu now?
We can. Yes. Now that we've wrapped up,
You tell me on the show, and I've been here for an hour and 38 minutes. I've only got to talk about her once.
we talked about her pretty,
Yeah, but
we
now
talked about-
I'm
yeah.
talking about the future. I've talked about the past. Now we look forward.
Now it's time, Scott. Now it's time for the victory lap that I've been waiting for from you, because
for over a year.
yes,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we had following Mayu Iwatani's departure from Stardom, we had the press conference on Roshi Ogawa's 68th birthday.
Emergency press conference. It was scary.
Emergency press
That's what they
conference.
called
Alan.
it. Yeah.
And when the press conference was announced, I think everyone knew what was coming. But it was
Great
very
bit,
surreal
though.
seeing it still happen live. Mayu Iwatani walked out there and announced herself having officially signed with Marigold. There were a few interesting points from the press conference. One, of course, we had a roster number reveal, which is 218, I believe.
219.
219. My bad.
It's her birthday.
Yeah. The number actually, that point of it popped me in particular because I remember when the numbers were kind of first revealed, there was the one that was left absent, and we all thought it was going to be, maybe we all kind of guessed that maybe Mayu down the line.
The eighth number.
Yeah, and then that void was filled, and we were all like, "Oh, maybe not." But I'm, seeing Maya go out there and just, go down her own path. 219, I like it. There was mention of Io and Kyrie and Julia. I think that the EO interaction in the future at some point.
She was just
certainly
being nice to the other two, by the way. Like,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
so clear. She was just like, actually, it's really just EO. And I was like, all right, man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
She's
Yeah,
so real for that.
yeah.
Julia, am I right, folks?
She named those three. I think she said, like, and I quote, even Julia. And I was like, Jesus.
Even. Well, yeah. So that's a door that now appears to be open for the future, and that'll be something to look forward to. She mentioned, new gear and maybe new entrants. We'll see what that looks like. And we had the
Yeah, you
opponents
literally
and
are
the
wrestling
debut.
on Sunday.
Yes, we had the debut. The debut confirmed. May 4th, Korakuen Hall, Nanai Takahashi. We of course already had that match announced, but with an X, and we now know that X is Mayu Iwatani. And what a kind of perfect full circle moment for Mayu Iwatani's first match outside of Stardom after departing the promotion, to be against Nanai Takahashi, one of the founders of Stardom, but also the kind of pillar of Marigold in the first year. And also going to be a big part, of course, of Nanai Takahashi's road to her own retirement, which is something that we'll be getting to in the coming weeks. So I'm very excited. Scott, it's been a long time coming. I'm going to let you take a big victory lap because we've had collectively in my UFC, we've had a lot of shit over the past, and Marigold fandom, of course, as well. But this feels like the biggest win we could have had. She was so happy to be there. Take it away, Mayu Iwatani in Marigold.
Yeah. For me, it does start a year and a month ago. I'll never forget the Korakuen Hall show right after was it Supreme Fight? Is that the name of the show? At the anniversary show that they do. That was the last show Rossi was around for. Then they had a Korakuen Hall show, and I'll never forget the look on Mayu's face. And since then, I have just like sat and dealt with it and accepted it. She had to be there. That was her contract. That was the way it goes. She had the movie to promote, and she ultimately went on to have an incredible year with that championship in the 5-star and so on. But like you said, it's been a year of waiting. I don't really care like about the promotional war. I don't give a shit. I watch both. I like both. I enjoy both. What I do give a shit about is Mayu and the happiness that you saw in this press conference. Like, it was literally the happiest I've been watching anything in so long. I've watched some incredible matches over the past year featuring my favorite wrestlers. I watched Mayu versus Sari literally a year ago. Like, that's that. I've watched Sarism. I watched all these things. There will be nothing that made me happier than the pure happiness she had being where she wants to be. And I think my number one thing is, listen, you can love Stardom, you can hate Marigold, you can feel however you want. If you're attacking Mayu, that is just the wrong way to go. It's just not right to me at all, because you should be happy for a wrestler when they want to be where they want to be, no matter what. And she is now where she wants to be. And that is that. I move on from that because there's too much excitement to talk about the hate. There's too much future opportunities to talk about the hate. This woman set the bar from day one. She said, I will be your savior. I will be the face of the company. I am coming for that Grand Slam. I am coming for that GHC. GHC? Is that
GHC?
GHC Women's Championship. I am coming for everything because I am going to change this company. That is what you need. That is what you want. That's what's supposed to happen. And that's the excitement of all of this. And I think for me, moving forward, there's just so many obvious, big things coming that you have to be excited about. You could kind of circle them. You can be excited for them. But I'll let you two talk because I don't want to take every talking point, but I'm just very, very happy.
Scott, you were just complaining about not being able to talk about Mayu. Keep going on your victory lap. Keep going.
I'm going to come back around to it. I'm going to come back around to it, but we're keeping it fresh. This is a conversation after all. I'm not done. I'm just passing the baton for a second.
Yeah, there's
good 6.
There, oh god, no, yeah, I'll pass the 6. I think I think it'll be an interesting thing to look into. The kind of things we're most looking forward to from Mayu Iwatani and Marigold. It's the first time we're ever going to see Mayu Iwatani full time in another promotion. It's a it's a sight maybe many of us would probably kind of never thought we'd see maybe a few years ago. And now it's it's such an exciting prospect, especially with kind of a lot of the rising stars in Marigold and maybe even the wider Joshi scene that could be possible. 6, I know you sent that tweet out after the move is confirmed on the Gold Star account about the what we're most looking forward to. I want to throw it over to you first in terms of what are you most looking forward to from Mayu Iwatani in Marigold, whether it be any particular show, any particular wrestler, matchup, team, or just a wider impact on the promotion. What kind of jumps out to you first from this major shift in the Joshi scene?
I have so many thoughts about everything you said, but I'll start with this, and that is that I think that Mayu Iwatani coming into a promotion that is so green, not just a new promotion, but a promotion that employs and features so many young wrestlers, is so fucking awesome. Mayu Iwatani is like one of the best people at helping train new talent, not just like the technicals, but teaching them what it means to be a wrestler who is performing for a crowd, teach them what it means to be a wrestler in a match, how to present yourself outside of the ring. Mayu Iwatani wrestling with all of this young crop of wrestlers, this fresh crop of wrestlers is something I am so astounded for. Like, I really cannot put into words how excited I am. Like, are you like, listen, Jamie, Mayu Iwatani and Big Kids, dude.
Oof. I need that. We need that.
Mayu Iwatani and Sari. Mayu Iwatani facing off again with Yuzuki. Like, this is stuff I'm looking forward to because she now gets to help these young wrestlers develop. She's gonna not only take this ace position, which she already is. She's day one and she's the ace of the promotion, by the way. And it means more than just like being the front, like the most well known. It means more than being the person to have the best matches. She is on day one put the company on her back. No issue at all. On day one, she's put the company on her back and she says, I'm going to guide Marigold into the future. I'm going to guide you young wrestlers into the future. I'm going to teach you because I know you're still learning. I know that there's rough edges. I know that there are things that need to be cleaned up. And I'm going to be the one to help do that through hellfire, through praise, through help, through support, through grueling war, through match, through punch, through speech, through talk, through promo, through press conference, through fire and ice. She is going to be the one to bring Marigold into its complete self, from talent to promotion overall. That being said, Mayu Iwatani versus Miku Aono will be the best match to happen in Marigold's history.
Whoa.
That's I mean, I know
love you, Io. I love what you did with Utami.
Yeah.
But
But wait, what if it's Mayu Io?
Yeah. This is another, I was about to say, we have to consider. That door's open.
Well, that match is going to be great, but I'm going to have
from Marigold talent. I will go with 6-star. I do. And I heard you shout out Mayu versus Big Kids. That's real business right there.
Listen.
I just want to support your thing real quick with Miku Aono.
Okay.
I want to give her credit for her, and we weren't going to talk about this, but the Marigold versus Marvelous match from a week ago, last Friday, was incredible. And Miku Aono versus Riko Kawahara was as real as it gets. That was maybe Miku Aono's best performance of her Marigold career. And what I wanted to say to support 6-star was I saw Miku Aono kick Riko Kawahara just a little too high one time, and I said, if she does that to Mayu Iwatani, the devil is going to come out. Just
yeah,
like when Sari slapped her last year in their match and Mayu just transformed. I was like, that's gonna be special. So I'm just supporting 6
I
star.
need to see it. I dare.
I also
dare.
I can't. I would be remiss not to mention my glorious Twin Towers.
Oh yeah.
Go Chica and Mayu is gonna be like easily one of the underrated matches of the year. It's gonna be like a barn burner on whatever show it's on, and it's gonna be like the match that at the end of the year when we're talking about like what are those hidden Joshi gems, it's gonna be Mayu and Go Chica, and it's gonna be the one that like obviously the Marigold fans are gonna be like, this match is so awesome because everyone loves Go Chica, but then it's just like in the larger wrestling conversation, it's gonna be the one that's brought up. It's gonna be the one that I think makes people pay attention to Marigold for a weekend. Because yes, Go Chica is just that good, and Mayu is even better. You know,
what you can appreciate about Go Chica is the spirit she brings. She may not be the most athletic, the most talented, but she brings every
she's
bit
the
of
most
her heart to
talented.
her matches. I mean, Mayu's there now, so no, but good try. But the thing with Chica Goto is, and I think she would become a favorite for a lot of people, is just watch the Marigold Marvelous match. She stepped in because she wanted to defend, and she faced Takumi, and the poor girl got destroyed. But it was the heart was there, right? She's so over. I mean, also to the 6 stars point, I mean, we are literally getting Nanai versus Mayu in 2 days, like in a packed Cork and Hall. That is going to be incredible. When it comes to just like excited matches for me, I'm just fascinated to see her face the young crop she's never faced before. Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki is like probably freaking out right now. I think it's safe to say between the two people that aren't Mayu herself and maybe Rossi, the two most excited people about Mayu is probably Victoria Yuzuki and myself. Quite frankly, but I'm excited for that. But I will point to one match that comes to mind for me since 6 star said Miku Aono. There's a new Mirai that exists right now. She's putting her hair up and she's destroying Utami Hayashishita every time she gets the opportunity. She has, in many ways, I think, played the ace better than anyone in this company. And I am fascinated by that match. And I know Jamie's going to name some people outside of the Marigold ring, but those who come into the Marigold ring, maybe one that's injured, recently dyed her hair black, she's a little short, kind of a spark plug, kind of crazy, but it's like one of the true dream matches of the Joshi scene. So I will let you guys keep throwing matches out because that's the excitement of this. And just to say this, if you are a Stardom fan, you are perfectly in your right to miss Mayu, right? But as a Mayu fan, she actually has something to sink her teeth into again.
Yeah.
This is a new field in front of her. She hasn't had a new field in front of her in years. She accomplished everything years ago. The IWGP Women's title was like the savior for like, oh, there's something new. But that's the excitement. It's just something.
Yeah, that excitement partly. I know we said we don't want to dwell on the the haters, but if you're one of these people who's kind of so swept up in the promotional war, which is kind of an extension of the wider promotional AEW and WWE battle that this scene has kind of been swept into, and you are gonna prevent yourself from watching Marigold out of hate for the promotion, then you are only hurting yourself because you're missing the chance to see Mayu Iwatani with the fire under her that she probably won't have had in a little while, and she seems so excited to be in Marigold as evidenced by that press conference that I think everything that we're going to get in this one is going to be must see.
Like everyone that's part of the roster obviously tweeted things like, "Oh, like seeing the Stardom people react that were previously in Stardom, and then seeing the new people be like, oh my god, this is so fun." And my favorite one though, and I know people have been saying what they want about her, but Utami pretty much being like, oh thank god. It killed me. Like Utami wants to just be Utami, right? She doesn't she's not someone that needs to be an ace, and that's why I think Mayu just benefits us all. I think Utami can go back into the role she's best at. But yeah, there's just so many matches and so many possibilities and storylines and everything. And the fact that she said she wants the Grand Slam means everyone is on notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo some of the points you guys mentioned. You know, when Six put that tweet out about what we're most looking forward to, I kind of listed a lot of the young stars, and the big three from Marigold have already been mentioned: the Seri, Kazuna Tanaka, and Yuzuki.
Big Kiz.
One more name
I
that I
like the
listed.
Big Kiz is comfortably in the big three now. That's the real.
Yeah. And Big Kiz and obviously Chikagoto that we mentioned earlier, they're two that have really had a fire lit under them by the Marigold and Marvelous war. And when you consider that Mayu Iwatani is arriving at a time when Marigold are at war with Marvelous, there's another young name who sticks out to me that I would very much like to see Mayu Iwatani wrestle, and that is young Senka Akatsuki, former wrestler of the week.
Yeah.
Senka Akatsuki. So if we can get that, then that would be exceptional. If we can see Mayu Iwatani wrestle Mio Momono,
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Can
talking about.
Can I get one in? Can I get one in? Mayu Iwatani and Benny singles action.
That's a dream right there.
Listen. Talk about a 6-star coded match. That is, you take 2 of my 5 seeds of my top 5 seed and you throw them in a match together in a singles match, especially considering that Benny Mayu minutes were some of the best minutes of 2024 in a tag match.
Yeah,
listen,
you're right. You're right.
There's a lot. I mean, I'm sure we may see Mayu run it back with Takumi Iroha. We know they.
Takumi already said after that the knockout match, he's like, "Can you send someone better, please?" And I was like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah. I saw.
We know who you mean.
I can't remember who tweeted. It may have been Keem who tweeted the video of Captain Marvel arriving in Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
Mayu arriving to the Marvelous War. That may be, Takumi may get the opponent that she's hoping for there. And we know the chemistry those two have had, the matches they've had in the past. I think that is definitely one to keep
Takumi's
an eye
back, by the way. I was someone that was very hard on her for the past year or so, but like this whole rivalry thing has completely reawoken her.
Mm-hmm. It's really lit a fire under pretty much every wrestler that's been involved. I think has been kind of given a real boost by this, which is why it's exciting. And Mayu's coming into the promotion at this time. It'll be interesting to see how she kind of adds to it. Marigold are going to get a big boost, I'm sure, in the war. Another kind of young name that I only thought about the other day, but it's an interesting one to think about with Mayu coming in. Andrew pointed out we yet to see Shino Omakai debut. And Fuka is one of the best trainers, in the history of Joshi wrestling. Her kind of, the age of rookies under her wing is exceptional. But adding Mayu into the mix, whenever Shino finally steps into that ring, she's going to have
she's at every show right now. She's always,
so I don't think it'll be too far away. So what an interesting time to make your debut as a wrestler. And where Mayu Iwatani is also stepping into the ring. So all of that being said, it's an incredibly exciting time to be a fan of Joshi wrestling as a whole. But of course, for Marigold, it's such a boost.
A little sad too. I'm gonna miss Tam and Meiko, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. But from a kind of Marigold perspective, it also felt like maybe before this Marvelous War kicked off, they've been treading water for a little bit. Some of the creative direction wasn't exactly there, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that the top end of their roster feels so light. They're a very rookie heavy promotion, even extending to the kind of higher end actress talents who themselves haven't been professional wrestlers for that long. So adding in someone of the
Lisa Matsui versus Mayu.
I was about to say I was literally about to say that. Scott, that's not fair. That's not fair. I was waiting my turn.
I know. I just got so excited.
That's so mean. I was waiting my turn. I was letting Jamie talk, and I was gonna say. No, 6-star didn't. This is true.
This
is true. This has been verified by
me legitimately 6 months ago. Truthfully, we want to be honest.
Sorry for my mini crash out there.
There's another one that would be that's a match I want to see. These are matches I want to see. My Sakurai feels like a different wrestler now to
they've never had a singles match.
Yeah, so that would be a really interesting one to see because she's grown so much as a wrestler since joining.
No one's mentioned Natsumi.
Oh yeah, Natsumi Suzuki.
I saw now that you mentioned
like a Jamie classic.
I know we joked a little bit about Kairi. Mayu throwing out Kairi and Julia along with Io. We know Io's the one that we want. I believe it was. I don't know whether it was Fuka on Twitter. It may have been someone else, but I saw Fuka retweet something about it.
Fuka's on cloud 9, 10, 11, 12 right now. She's so
that's her daughter, bro.
If we can see Mayu and Io versus Shozuki and Kairi, that would be
okay.
Kairi, you're gonna have to put your working boots on, to be honest with you.
For sure. I
don't want to see Kairi Zane. I want to see Kairi Hojo. You feel me?
Oh, I got you.
If you're walking out as Kairi Zane, then you might as well stay back home in the United States. I could care less.
I did think of one more.
Go ahead.
And this could pop 6 stars, especially. Mayu Iwatani versus Chen Yoda.
Oh my!
She's around like all the time now. She just tweeted out her schedule like yesterday. She's on every Marigold show pretty much the rest of the month. So just her thing now.
So that would be. I mean, so Marigold been a real. This feels like a real huge boost, the biggest possible boost to their roster and the promotion. One final name that's come to mind, which may transition us into another thing I wanted to talk about on this show, because there's another match that just came to mind, and that could be Jungle Kiona. I would quite like to see Mayu in the ring.
I was going to say Jungle Kiona.
Because
Jungle has not stopped herself from hinting at that.
Jungle Kiona made her return to the ring against Nanae Takahashi in a 5-minute exhibition. And it was one of the most heartwarming moments in wrestling that I can remember for some time. In a week where there was such sadness in Joshi because there was, legends retiring and huge moves in the scene and a lot of uncertainty about the future. We had the moment that made me really, really excited for the future because Jungle Kiona has been out of action now for about 2 years with injury. And before that, it was kind of sporadic indie appearances and things like this. And for a while, it looked like maybe her career was going to come to an end, not on her terms. And it was very, very sad to follow. But she had this 5-minute exhibition with Nanae Takahashi. And afterwards, revealed her intention to make a full return in Marigold. And she's going for some belts. So I'm very fired up for Jungle Kiona being back in any capacity. But if she's going to be in and around the promotion, fairly often, then that is great news because that's another big name for Marigold at what should be an exciting time. But just as a fan of Joshi wrestling in general, Jungle Kiona is one of the most lovable figures you'll find anywhere. So it's heartwarming to see her back in the ring. Scott, I know you've caught up with this at this point. So Jungle Kiona back in the ring. How did this one make you feel?
If this happened to have been Jungle Kiona's final 5 minutes in the ring, it was special. That was my ultimate takeaway. Like, she has been through hell and back over these last 5 years with her knee, as everyone knows, right? She's tried and tried and tried. She has not given up on wrestling. I think that's something you can really appreciate with her. And the fact that she might get, or not might, she feels pretty confident about it. The fact that she is likely going to get a way to complete her career the right way, that's very special. And that is something that you want to see for someone as loved and as appreciated and as caring as she is. If you watch the whole thing, like, the 5 minutes wasn't like this big match. It was mostly her really just testing her knee, running the ropes, doing the basics. But she seemingly felt alive in many ways, felt excited. You could see how emotional she was, and now she sets her sights on so much more. So I'm rooting for her, and anyone that's not, like, I don't think there's many people not rooting for her, truthfully. I think everyone wants to see Jungle wrap things up the right way. The reason she came back for the American tour and then wrapped things up in that Nomad show is because she didn't know if she'd ever come back. So she was like, my knee's junk. I'm just gonna give it a go. We'll see what happens. And I'm rooting for her 100%. Any involvement of her being back in a wrestling ring, whether it's just tags or anything, is a win.
For sure. Just like you said, just seeing her run the ropes, something as simple as that would just make me so excited for her. And you
For
can see
those who
it.
don't know, just to say, for those who don't know, before Momo Watanabe and Hazuki, there was Jungle Kiona.
Oh yeah, the original, the original Nearly Woman. I always remember her final red belt challenge because that felt like a moment where everyone believed for a second that something truly special was going to happen. I have no idea in what kind of capacity this return is going to be. It sounds like she wants to be in and around. She mentioned belts. Murph points out here that she called Utami boring and wants the belt, which was incredibly beast.
I went to the school of Skyree on that one.
Yeah, I don't know what the outlook is like for her prospects as a title challenge. If she gets a title in Marigold, then oh my days, then I will be over the moon for her because she's
her and Mayu as Twin Star champions feels right.
Oh, there we go. If Mayu's trying to do a Grand Slam, then I know some people maybe want to see Yuzuki with Mayu, or there'll be a few names.
Why not both?
Why not both? Why don't we? This doesn't have to be a short term thing. We got time. We can get these things in. But yes, Jungle Kiona. 6. Did you manage to catch Jungle Kiona's return to the ring?
Of course I did. I would not have missed it for the world. Jungle Kiona, I don't think I could say better than what you and Scott have been saying, specifically what Scott's been saying in terms of like, wow, if this is the last 5 minutes we ever got of Jungle Kiona, I'm happy we even got to get them in the first place. But it's just like
in Nagoya.
I've missed Jungle, dude. Like I've missed Jungle, and I'm really, really happy that that is what Scott said. She can come back and hopefully, wrestle and someday end her career on her own terms. However long we have left with her, I'm glad we got more time with her. And it's just like, I hope I get to see her in and around Marigold more. It kind of feels like that's a direction it's treading in, but I don't want to, speak nothing into existence. So I'll just say I'm keeping my eye on Jungle Kiona's wrestling activities, and I hope to see more of her in the coming months.
The one other thing that came to my mind with Jungle Kiona returning to the ring and just being able to in any capacity is that we are approaching the next Hana Kimura Memorial Show, and I think her involvement there would just be truly one of the most special moments in Joshi Wrestling you'll see all year, and I think I'm very optimistic that is something that we will see. I'm very hopeful. I'm glad that it looks like that's something that is very now much a possibility and a likelihood. So we'll keep an eye on whether anything gets announced in that regard. But I think that's something that we can all hope for in the coming weeks. So any closing thoughts as we kind of move on to the final of the big 3 Joshi topics on or 4, I guess, now that we've had a little Jungle Kiona segment. Any closing thoughts on Marigold's their week with bringing in Mayu Iwatani and Jungle Kiona, or are we all good to move on to the final boss?
Just be excited. That's all I'm telling everyone. Just be excited, whether it's Stardom, whether it's Marigold. Just be excited for Joshi. 2025 has been their year, and it's not going to stop. Queendom was an incredible celebration of what Joshi wrestling can be and should be, but that was not the end. It would just keep moving forward. We just keep moving forward, and I'm very excited to see where we go. And I couldn't be happier. I think people know that by now if you follow me, but I couldn't be happier. So on to new horizons, and let's celebrate another legend real quick here.
And as you mentioned, with the incredible year it's been so far and will continue to be for Joshi Wrestling. One of the biggest parts in why this year has been so special has been the celebration of the career of Meiko Satomura. where her retirement announced well in advance, and she's been on that retirement road here, there, and everywhere across the Joshi world. I actually have a list of her matches in 2025 that I want to kind of run through the promotion she stopped in momentarily. But we had on the April 29th Sendai Girls Satomura Meiko, the final, and what a show this was, top to bottom. I thought this was a really fun celebration of Meiko's career. It was the kind of typical Joshi retirement show that you see. There were a lot of kind of the young stars and had a bit of a legends party atmosphere also, and then the final match of Meiko Satomura's career came in two parts, and both of them made for incredible viewing. So we'll kick things off right with the final two matches of Meiko Satomura's career. The first and of course the full match of the full advertised retirement match for Meiko was teaming with Manami to take on Aja Kong and Chihiro Hashimoto. And I absolutely love this. I love I just love the participants in general, just kind of broadly. It felt perfect because you had Aja Kong, who kind of represents, the Meiko Satomura's past and one of her most legendary rivals, and one of the most, one of the face of that old era of Joshi wrestling that Meiko Satomura kind of still stood as one of the last real faces of. You had Chihiro Hashimoto, who's of course kind of the face of Sendai Girls and everything that Meiko has built with that promotion. It feels like a real successor to that spirit of the old school way of Joshi wrestling. And then you had Manami, who kind of, I think maybe sometimes flies under the radar of how still young she is, because she's been around for a little while. She's still 20 years of age, and this spot for her was incredible because she felt more than deserving to be on this stage, and I thought she delivered in the match absolutely. So I was really glad to see Manami in the mix. I'll throw it to Six first because we led a lot with Scott in the last segment. But Six, what do you make of this first portion of the Meiko Satomura's final match?
I think it was a perfect farewell. Well, obviously we'll get into the actual proper farewell, right? But this match is like the last announced official match of Meiko. Oh my goodness! I mean, first of all, shout out. You were saying, shout out Manami.
Yeah.
I love to see the spotlight on. I love when a wrestler who's retiring puts the spotlight on the future while embracing. We see with this part, which we also see the embracement of her past and her history, because say what you will, Meiko is Joshi wrestling in a lot of ways, is among the last of the old guard and creating space for the new. And I just really, really enjoyed this match. And I think that I'm kind of at a loss for words. I mean, seeing Meiko and Aja go at it, it's, I'm getting emotional a little bit. There's never been a Joshi world without Meiko in my time. There's never been a wrestling world without Meiko in my time, and getting to see this match was really special to me. And I'm really, really appreciative of everything that she has given to professional wrestling. And beyond that, I'm really, really happy to see which wrestlers got a chance to get at it with her, and the spotlight that Manami got to have in this match.
Yeah, it was. This match, it just felt like a real celebration of her career, and kind of, as I mentioned, the participants felt like a kind of a summary of her career in three different kind of parts. It also just felt really triumphant. It just felt like I said, that celebratory feel to it. Partly because she won the match, which
that was real.
Yeah, but it just felt like, whereas Tam's retirement, it was kind of like the sad, the emotional build to what kind of the inevitable. This felt like we already knew, had it confirmed, set in stone what was coming, and this was just sort of I don't really know how to describe.
Heartwarming.
Yeah, this heartwarming,
Heartwarming,
triumphant
celebratory.
feeling, celebration. This last stand for one of the kind of like bastions of Joshi wrestling, a real pillar for 30 years. Just just phenomenal. And also just on Meiko, just before I hand it over to Scott, I mentioned as kind of one of the pillars of that old school fighting spirit, era of Joshi wrestling, obviously throughout the 90s and that kind of period. Meiko is one of the last, maybe the best example of someone from that era and having that fighting spirit, who still felt close to, even at kind of the peak of her powers, right until the end. I would say the only other one that really springs because there are a lot of legends. There are a lot of legends on this show, but very few of them still feel, still feel as though they're able to deliver to the peak of what Meiko can still do right until the end. The only other one that comes to mind on occasion is Nanai Takahashi, but also she's about to retire, so it's a real devastating blow. So we're entering a very interesting time, and we're losing to another pillar of Joshi wrestling. But for Meiko, this match was just on full display. The ability that she still possesses, and she went out right at the top of her game, which is phenomenal because so many wrestlers don't get the chance to do that. So many wrestlers just decide not to do that and just plow on, and maybe stay a little bit longer than than they're welcome to. But Meiko, just throughout the entirety of her career, was absolute killer, and even throughout years spent in WWE, we didn't get to see enough of her, but she still delivered top quality work. Scott, the first part of Meiko Satomura's retirement match, how much did you enjoy this one?
It was as awesome as I hoped. I mean, you saw the names, you hoped for greatness, and you got greatness. And I don't think anyone captured Meiko Satomura's career better than Aja Kong in her statement, which I am going to read because it really hits you, what she was and what their rivalry was. And that is what Aja Kong said after the second match, which we'll talk about here. But the only reason I've survived this long is because of you, Meiko Satomura. This is all your fault. You've kept Aja Kong alive. Don't ever forget that. Even if I've become some kind of monster or rampaging beast, it's because I met you, Meiko Satomura. Even though you're just a junior, no matter what I did, you never broke. No matter how hard I tried to destroy you, you never shattered. The harder I came at you, the harder you came back. In these 39 years, there were people like that, peers, seniors, but I never imagined a junior would push me this far. That's because it was you, Meiko Satomura, and for that alone, I sincerely thank you. Aja Kong shouts out. Just I don't think anyone can capture a career better than that exact statement. And I also don't think anyone has as much motion as Meiko Satomura. This woman had Io Sky. This woman had Akira Hokuto. The Crush Gals, Aja Kong. Like it, she had
the Crush Gals was so. I've seen the Crush Gals was so awesome. That one popped me so big.
The Crush Gals brought me so much happiness. Like obviously it was like Chigusa in her first, right, with the bloodline in red picture. That was so amazing. I was like, I need that. And then she was like, wait a minute, hold on. We need to get her back out here, and then they took the picture. It was just awesome, and
it was a big pop.
There was my biggest pop though is Nagayo going right back to commentary when she was done. Shouts out to I'll just say this. So this is really all I have to say. There is nothing in wrestling better than a Joshi retirement. There's nothing that's treated with more respect, more love and care than a Joshi retirement in both ways that we saw this week, right? We saw the most unique way with Tam Nakano, and we saw the most traditional way with Meiko Satomura, and yet both of them will carry on with people for years to come, right? You will think of these moments, maybe even more than a match itself, because that's what the wrestlers meant. And the fact that I have to go through this again in 22 days is egregious, and I'm not. Then the 9 one might break me. Like I've tried to get through these first two, and I think them being back to back was just like this is a lot happening. By the time we get to the 9 one, I think the realization of all three just being done will hit me at once. But this was beautiful. It was perfect. The match was awesome. I will say what almost broke me was Minami just crying her eyes out and Hashimoto having to console her. I was like, man, this is too much. Let's stop. Let's stop. Let's get me out of here. But yeah, just fantastic. If you didn't watch it, go out of your way to watch it. If you did watch it, I don't know, maybe watch it again.
Yeah, it's one of those things you absolutely have to see if you didn't get a chance to watch it live. Just phenomenal. Like you said, Joshi retirements, they're unmatched, and the care that went into both, because like you said, they're both two very different deliveries of retirement, but both were so fit, were so fitting for each wrestler in kind of their essence and the way it all came together. Of course, afterwards there was a 5-minute 5-on-2 handicap match because Aja Kong demands to team with Meiko Satomura, and then there's a mad scramble of challengers that emerge. And in the end, it's Chihiro Hashimoto, Mika Iwata, Senka Akatsuki, Takuma Iroha, and Yuna, with Shin Sakura Hirata as Meiko Satomura, also making an appearance. It was just this was the kind of celebratory feel, and you kind of have these moments on a lot of these Joshi retirements where you just kind of get everyone in there for one final time, and this is again another one of those moments we talked about before about how Tam Nakano, one of her greatest, or maybe her greatest contribution to wrestling being everything that she's done with Saya Kamatani and what Saya Kamatani will go on to do thereafter. Some of the names involved in this show and this match in particular, I think we may talk about some of the same things moving forward, because you had some of the best young talent in there in the form of Senka Akatsuki. In particular, of course, Yuna in there as well was a big moment. But it's so big for even someone Chihiro Hashimoto, who's so established at this point, but the impact that Meiko Satomura will have had on her career is very profound. So just for everyone getting that moment, it was just awesome. So again, it's very sad time seeing the career of someone like Meiko Satomura come to an end, but it's also a chance to celebrate the incredible career and everything that she's done and the contribution to the next generation.
That reminds me. I meant to ask you guys what your favorite matches were of each retirees from their career. So just because I'll take over so you guys can think of them to help you guys out and give you time. But for me, with Meiko, it's her and Hokuto from Gaia.
Yeah.
You know the one. If I just say that, you know the one. That will be forever my favorite Meiko match. It's incredible. It's so unique. And then with Tam, Tam. It's really hard with Tam because I lived it, right? Like I lived through the Tam. So the emotions are definitely, it's not difficult to think of them. It's difficult to pick one. It's either the retirement match, but I always favor the Riso Shiki match. That's just, they'll forever live in stardom infamy for a reason. It was Tam. It felt like it was Tam's moment of the full breakout too. Of like, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be at the top of this company. So that'll always be my favorite. But I will let you both answer. Obviously, you could say the same one. That was not like you got to pick something different. No, this isn't a draft.
I'll jump in. I have a few that are kind of in my head for both. I mean, I think when you talk about Meiko Satomura, I think her way with Io Shirai is exceptional in Stardom. That's obviously such a big part of her legendary career. But also, I want to throw out some of the matches she had with Kana. Obviously, WWE's Asuka. I love so much the intensity between those two. Was always must see. So I think I would go with the EO match if you had to push me for one, the one from 2015.
All timer,
but just absolutely phenomenal. An all timer in both women's catalogs, which is incredible because those are two of the greatest to ever do it. For Tam Nakano, again, much like you, Scott, it's one that I've kind of seen sort of the complete, pretty much the complete catalog. So I feel it's maybe even trickier to pick out a favorite. I think the ones you picked before were definitely definitely up there. And I mean, that retirement match is exceptional and the perfect way to go out the Hoshiki one as well. I'm torn between two Julia matches, but I'm thinking I'm leaning towards the red belt match, where she picks
Crazy
up that
business.
one.
Crazy business, by the way.
It's I love the hair versus hair match, but for sure I love
cheering in the second one. That might help.
yeah, the red belt match I just thought was so special. I also didn't expect Tam to win it at all, so I remember being particularly.
But everyone did it going into it.
Yeah, so that match in particular always stands out to me as one of the best. I mean, their rivalry, of course, is one of the biggest in Stardom history and a big part of Tam's influence over these last few years. So yeah, I'll go with that for Tam, the Julia match where she wins the red belt.
I mean, I'm trying not to say what you guys have already said. Obviously, I know, Scott, you said that this isn't anyone
You
can
can though.
I know. Your
favorite, it's your favorite, man.
So
don't say
I want to highlight Meiko and Aja from Gaia, and
that's real business.
I was hoping September '99. September '99 is really great match. I mean, for me personally, my favorite Meiko match of all time. You know, not to steal your whole entire flow there, Scotty, but.
Six, I knew we were on the same page. Don't you worry. You're not stealing anything from me. We've watched that match together.
True. But it's just Meiko has such a great, wonderful career. I really implore all of you to go out of your way to watch it. But if you're gonna watch just one match, the Hokuto match is the one I recommend. It is really, really good.
Good job, guys. We need her top 2 on Cage match.
Yeah, that's not, what do you do?
This might pop people. Learn to catch to have a great match, actually. That might pop some people.
Yeah.
Wait.
Listen, sometimes the people are right on Cage match. It's not our fault.
Fucking Thunder Rock versus Meiko and Kairi was good too.
That's real. That's a great.
Just letting everyone know, it's a really amazing match. Actually, the match against Kagetsu, another great match.
If you want to cry again, you can watch the Kagetsu one because that's the Kagetsu retirement match as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of retirements, shout out for Tam. Like every you guys have said, it's hard because I've seen all of it and I've lived a large part of it, and more importantly than that, and I should say more importantly, but another degree of that is Tam is for me one of my fucking goats, is someone who has brought me to the party of Joshi wrestling. And so I'll say undoubtedly that one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life, in my damn life. If you want a match that is just you see some of the best of Tam Nakano in any capacity, it would be the Hoshiki match. Shout out. Great match. The kind of match that you watch and you're just this is someone you watch this. If you watch this one happen, you see this this is someone who's going to be the biggest deal in Joshi. And you see that you saw that for the first time. And I shouldn't say for the first time. You saw that in that match, undeniably in that match. Yeah. I think though, I want to give it to.
I thought you already
Tam
gave
for
it.
No. I want to give it to the watch. I'll say is Tam versus Natsupoi, the no stip match, the straight up singles match that happened in 2022.
Oh,
it is yes, it is such an important match for my wrestling fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what anyone says. It was.
Now you're real for it. It was so much better than the Steel Cage match, in my opinion.
Okay, don't go saying so much.
No, point one, it was so real.
I loved the cage match, but I think
to me, and I'll just say this: to me, that was Poi elevating to the next level when she won.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I want to give it to that match as the one I'll say. I mean, that entire story is something that's so personal to me.
Mhm.
that's so important to me and my wrestling fandom that looking at Tam's illustrious career, I go straight to Natsupoi versus Tam, straight singles.
Yeah, that's it. It's phenomenal. There are a lot for both. But we could sit here and list. I mean, for Meiko, the recent Suri match, I loved. That was that was another great example of how great she still was. So both, both legends catalogs are you could scroll through them for days. And I mean, two massive losses for the Joshi scene, but two that leave a legacy that are going to continue to influence the next generation, both in terms of that fighting spirit style and also the kind of idol archetype of Joshi wrestler and the kind of emotional storytelling from Tam Nakano. So yeah, we're now in a Tam Nakano and Meiko Satomura-less Joshi scene, and it's very interesting to see what that's going to look like. Nanai Takahashi's retirement, as Scott points out, right around the corner. It's blow after blow, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's a very emotional time, but it's one that's also going to deliver some of the most enjoyable shows that you'll find anywhere. So, as we said, Joshi retirements are always something that you have to be there for and watch. So, we will continue to enjoy an incredible 2025 for Joshi wrestling. Unless you have any final thoughts on Meiko Satomura, this has been a very long, very long podcast, and we have one final topic to get into before we wrap up. So, New Japan Wrestling Dontaku is coming up on May 3rd and 4th, which is tomorrow. Starting tomorrow. So we have 2 nights and a lot of championship big matches. Also a big stipulation match in the main event of the first night. We won't go through absolutely everything because, as I say, this has been a very long show. And also, we don't need to get into everything on these undercards, but there's a few matches on each show that we can breeze through. Maybe the top 4 of each that we'll fly through. Konosuke Takeshita El Phantasmo defends the World Television Championship against Konosuke Takeshita. A very interesting one because unless they're going to somehow ELP is going to fluke his way to a time limit draw, I can't imagine Takeshita taking a loss to El Phantasmo at this stage in the game. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out of that one on top. Like I say, I can't imagine Takeshita laying down. Tanahashi is getting back in there with Zack Sabre Jr. as part of his retirement road. I always enjoy these two's the chemistry between these two. I mean, they've had some great ones in the past, and as much as Tanahashi is towards the, obviously he's towards the end of his career, but his powers are waning considerably. He still has that spirit, and the ace is very much still alive and can bring something out of matches that he shouldn't be able to, considering his physical limitations. So hopefully that'll be another one that delivers. Shingo Takagi is going to be in there with Shota Umino, which is on paper not something I would be too fired up with, considering Shota Umino's current standing in wrestling. But Shota Umino, the tweet he made about Shingo Takagi, which landed him a gold star, means that I am particularly interested in this one because I think Shingo's going to beat the shit out of him, to be quite honest. If you didn't catch it, Shingo was tweeting about Shota crying, and Shota pointed out a particular scandal in Dragon Gate involving a pet monkey, which is, if you don't know about it, it's not a good look for Shingo. I think poking the bear is an understatement when it comes to bringing that up. So that could be interesting. And then the one I want to actually talk about in terms of what could happen in the aftermath, there is a dog pound match involving House of Torture and Bullet Club War Dogs. Losing team must leave Bullet Club. So obviously the participants, they're Evil, Ren Narita, Sanada, Sho, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru taking on David Finlay, Clark Connors, Driller Maloney, Gabe Kidd, and Taiji Ishimori. We've seen one of these before, and it went on for about 2 years. And there were big injuries. There was a retirement in the aftermath. So we'll see to what extent they follow this one up. But I think the main talking point is after this, I anticipate that this may not just be leaving Bullet Club, but I think one of these factions may disband. And I am optimistic that that faction will be House of Torture, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much. But I have a few potential thoughts on what the aftermath could be. Either of you two have any strong thoughts on the potential dissolution or leaving Bullet Club from these two factions, or just this match in general? Start with you, Scott.
Evil should win.
Evil should win. You know what?
Yeah. Listen, I am team Evil for other reasons, but I'm going to root for him because I want to be funny, and two, I hate Bullet Club. Like, why does this still exist? I think the name Bullet Club can go away, and they can just have these two factions be War Dogs and House of Torture very easily. And I think that's probably the direction for me. I don't think it matters who wins. It's really whoever getting the winning fall. I think you're building up to face probably Goto. So unless it's Finley, clearly, but because he just did. But I think it'll be fascinating. It's an interesting match. Them getting rid of the War Games stip was the best thing they could have done. It's not War Games anymore. It's just
but it's gonna have a slightly different feel to it. That could be an interesting way they go with it, just sort of breaking up and ditching Bullet Club entirely, which feels long overdue. I know War Dogs for a lot of people have kind of revitalized the faction, but it doesn't feel like they need the Bullet Club. They feel like their own thing at this stage, and House of Torture have long felt kind of separate from Bullet Club in their entirety. My only thing is, for some reason, I've been optimistic for a while that Evil is gonna turn babyface, and I don't know where this came from, but I have a feeling that at some point this year we're gonna get Evil as a member of Hontai. Now, I just think that would be really funny, and I think you could do some funny stuff with that. I think everyone being a bit like, I don't know.
Maybe we should give you the book.
Yeah. So I come up with a few good ideas here and there. But you imagine he's in Hontai, like everyone's a bit unsure, but then maybe he has like some sort of heroic moment and everyone accepts him. And then he can turn heel after that and it can be really funny as well. But I just think I think that would be an interesting dynamic. I also think it's about time that some of the other House of Torture members try and like remember to wrestle again. So I think if you're starting a new faction with Shota Umino, which I hope is still something that's coming because they seem to have I don't know. They're taking a bit longer than many people expect with this maybe development with Shota Umino. I think Sho actually wrestling again. It could maybe be a junior that you throw in there. I know he was someone that everyone had high expectations of before he ended up joining House of Torture, and his trajectory after that's not been ideal. But I also could definitely see the way you kind of laid out, Scott, in it, and they both just sort of split off. So it'll be interesting to follow. Six, do you have any predictions for this one, how this one's going to go, and the aftermath of this big faction warfare?
I don't really care, man. To be honest with you. To be completely honest with you.
It's very real. It's very real.
I don't know. I loved Bullet Club once upon a time. 2025 though,
Oh yeah.
And I just think it's for the best if the name Bullet Club was retired. Shout out David Finley though.
Yeah, one of the over the past year, one of the most improved wrestlers. He was kind of up there when we did those Wrestle Purist votes. His transformation's been incredible. He won Dumb Guy Live Shitter of the Year at one point, and I think in the following year,
he used to be really bad.
Yeah, he was. His matches had like no feeling at all. Like he'd hit his finishes and there would be nothing. They were like, but now he feels like a real top star in New Japan, and also feels like respected enough to where War Dogs kind of feel like they can go babyface. So it's an incredible turnaround. So I'm hoping that I'm not sure how much I'm looking forward to the match, but I'm hoping that the aftermath could be at least interesting in both directions. Night 2, But again, we'll fly through. We don't need to spend too long. There is a Stardom showcase here. We have Fukuoka Triple Crazy, which is, of course, Hazuki and Koguma of FWC, along with Meiko, taking on Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid, and Azumi, and also Yuna Mizumori of Cosmic Angels. It's going to be one of the last times that we see Meiko for a while. she's wrapping up shortly after this. So it's always nice to see Stardom showcase on some of these big New Japan shows. I like if we got it a little bit more often, but also we have too many Stardom shows, so maybe not. Maybe some of these wrestlers need a break. Elsewhere, there is looking at the kind of big matches here. The two real big ones here on this show are for the top two titles, and that's of course IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Yota Tsuji defending against Yuya Uemura, and we talked a little bit earlier briefly about how New Japan are definitely not in anywhere near as strong of a position when it comes to being ready for the departures of Tetsuya Naito and Hiroshi Tanahashi. But if there are two young stars that they can probably look towards as kind of prospects that they can lean on in filling those voids long term, I think these two certainly stand out. Yota Tsuji, certainly out of the young crop, is the one who feels he has like the most kind of star power as of right now. And then Yuya Uemura, from a potential point of view, we saw before his injury, he was getting in a really good groove, and now he's back. And I think this one should be a very exciting one. 6, do you anticipate a title change here, or are you thinking big Gene Blast walks away with the gold?
Yeah, I think we're Gene blasting Sweet Heat right out of the arena.
I tend to agree. My only thing is I think Tsuji could also be a big contender for this year's G1. So whether they want to shift that title off, I'm not too sure before then. But we've got a little bit of time, I suppose. Scott, going into this one, how high are you on these two at this stage in the game as New Japan approach two huge departures of their own? And who do you think's walking away with the gold?
They very clearly need these two to be the future.
Yes.
And I think they will. I'm going to go with Tsuji.
Well.
What?
Yuya.
You don't like Yuya? He's good.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I just don't think
he's good.
Gene
Tanahashi's already picked him.
What you're witnessing,
What
you're witnessing, Scott.
Okay,
what you're witnessing,
my
Scott,
goat,
is a
my
unfortunate case of 6-star fallen victim to 4-Kanda mind control.
4-Kanda mind control. Y'all were not watching TNA 3 years ago, bro.
You'd be correct. I'm not watching TNA today. I'm not watching it 3 years ago. I'm not watching it 5 years ago. You would be absolutely correct. I
also wasn't watching it 3 years ago, but I don't know, man. Joya was a crazy shout. So I'm not having the son of Joe Hendry lead my Lion brand, bro. I'm sorry.
Not my Lion brand, so I don't care.
Yeah.
This is not.
They want to.
Okay, so here's my thing. Here's my honest thoughts. I don't think Yuya's bad. I actually think he's a lot better than he was a few years ago. But genuinely, as someone like Tsuji's like the only of the one of like the Musketeers era of new gens that I actually care about anymore. So that's why I have such apathy about Yuya. Maybe Yuya can win my care back. God, I mean, hey, David Finlay proved me wrong. Well, did not prove me wrong. David Finlay fucking sucked, and then got better. So maybe Yuya can like make me care about him again, like I did at one point.
I think it's kind of an interesting thing to follow. That obviously, just 4 guys were brought into Hontai, and it was made quite clear by Tanahashi that Yuya's going to be kind of his successor in that kind of leadership ace role. Moving forward, which will also probably play into whatever happens in the future with Shota Umino. But I'm pretty high on Yuya. I know our friend Dibu is very high on Yuya. So we'll see how I think this one should hopefully deliver. And then in terms of a very interesting main event, we have Hiroki Goto defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Who, by the way, Hiroki Goto, undeniably the best male champion you'll find anywhere in wrestling right now. It's not even particularly close by any stretch.
Hey, Kenta
he's
might
kind of carrying New Japan on his back this year. He's taking on Callum Newman, who is stepping up. I think everyone kind of assumed this match was going to be for Jeff Cobb before Jeff Cobb decided to fuck off. But yeah, Callum Newman. I mean, in terms of United Empire, they're going through a bit of an interesting time. Obviously, of course, for a while now, they've not had Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, so they felt a little bit empty. TJP of all people kind of stepped up into a, proclaimed himself to be in the leadership role. He seems to be now out of the company. Jeff Cobb on his way to WWE. So the faction's kind of falling apart, but Callum Newman is stepping up here. He wants to kind of lead the faction into the future, and it doesn't get bigger. Much bigger than challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. That being said, I think you can tell by the reaction that I don't think any of us are too high going in on the young Prince of Pace. But that being said, Hiroki Goto has been spectacular this year, and if anyone,
I can make it simple for you, Jamie. I'll make it really
go
simple for you. If Callum Newman wins this match, end New Japan as we see it.
well,
you know who I miss.
That was not even a thought that crossed my mind. But
you know who I think should be in these title matches?
Go on.
The biggest of grips. Ryohei Oiwa, bro. Let's get the real back in.
Real.
What are we talking about? We're not.
I don't know why.
Why are we wasting our time with the four? Why are we wasting our time with the 3 of the 4 Musketeers and the Prince of Pace? Okay, that was mean, but I stand by it.
Yeah, I mean,
should be Big Bill. All right, thank you.
Yeah, as I was saying, the one hope I have going into this is that Hiroki Goto has been exceptional this year, as I pointed out. So I am hopeful that, as much as I'm not a fan of young Callum Newman, that the form that Goto's on, and also the way he brings out, the passion of the crowd, which has been a big boost for New Japan this year, can make this something special, and hopefully, spare Callum Newman on to do something great. I'm not too hopeful, but I will always be tuning in for these Hiroki Goto title matches. So hopefully, this is another one that delivers. And yeah, that is it. A very very quick preview of the big things to come. Tomorrow's Wrestling Dontaku show, of course, tomorrow and Sunday. And yeah, after that, we've got Best of the Super Junior season coming up. And of course, all the exciting things we previewed in the world of Joshi Wrestling. Mayu Iwatani is now officially in Marigold. Stardom without Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano, building on the future. Saya Kamatani right at the forefront of it. Jungle Kiona is back in a wrestling ring, and hopefully will be around more and more. And we're also approaching Nanae Takahashi's retirement, which will be a very sad moment. So the only thing left to do on this show, unless anyone has any closing thoughts, is to wrap things up. It's been a very long show. We're approaching 3 hours here, which is, we don't really have, if you tuned into any of these shows before, we don't keep things tight. That's how I roll. But it's time for the Gold Star Grapplers of the week. And the first time that we've been able to do this live on YouTube for quite some time. And I can't even remember the order we used to do this, but I think I'm going to kick things off with 6. 6, your Gold Star Grappler of the week on such a big week. Take it away.
So for my Gold Star Grappler of the week, our first one live in many, many, many moons, as Jamie has said, I went with someone who I talked about at length on today's show. I'm talking about the woman who at her best is the greatest women's wrestler in the world, period, who has ended the most legendary IWGP title reign of all time, who has proven once again why she is considered in such high regards by some of the best wrestlers doing it today, and that is our new IWGP Women's Champion, Shuri, after that brilliant performance she had against Mayu Iwatani at All-Star Grand Queendom.
I like it. That's a good pick. It's in what's been, as we pointed out, a very emotional week. This is just a really triumphant moment, and a one that we've been waiting for some time. Shuri back on top where she belongs. So more than deserving Gold Star Grappler of the week. Scott, throw it over to you. Who will your Gold Star Grappler of the Week be this week? I wonder.
I think I've patiently waited all year for this one time to say this, so I can now say it. My Gold Star Grappler is Mayu Iwatani. Not only did she have what I believe is one of the best matches of the year, and for me, one of the most emotional matches of the year. But now she's on to new things moving forward, and I'm very excited for her to dive into something that she's clearly followed and clearly cares about, and it's just going to be so exciting. This is going to be the first of many times that I and others on this panel will be calling her a Gold Star Grappler moving forward. So I'm very excited for her. It would have been criminal if I picked anyone else, in my opinion. So obviously I picked Mayu Iwatani. I don't think I have any more words I could say about her this week. I've had about 75 things to say about her, 75 podcasts to say about her. I'm about to hit 14 hours of recording this week, so I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be the last time you'll be seeing Mayu Iwatani on that Gold Star Grappers with it. I anticipate you may see her as the collective next week if all things go to plan. I would not be surprised. I'll also, yes, a great pick and one that I think everyone fully expect. I've been between a few different people for my Gold Star Grappler because we've kind of already organised our collective, which we'll get to in a moment. I think I'm going to land on Manami from the who of course had a great showing in the Meiko Satomura retirement match because I think how awesome of a spot it was for her to be there. And like I said, earlier in the show, someone who's still so young, but you kind of forget it because she's been in and around the scene now for a minute, but she's part of this incredibly exciting young crop of talents that we have right now. And for her to be so much at the forefront of this moment, and also, it was kind of very evident how much it meant to her, as you kind of said earlier, Scott, with the the tears. This just felt like a huge moment for her and something that will kind of push her on to continue to do incredible things in Sendai Girls and wherever else she pops up in the future. So Manami is going to be my Gold Star Grappler of the week. And with that being said, I think it's very clear that on this week of all weeks, we kind of have to make a bit of a special exception for the collective, and we have to push two names forward. And those two, of course, are going to be Tam Nakano and Meiko Satomura, whose legendary careers both came to an end this week. And I mean, I don't think there's much more that can be said that hasn't already been said about these two. So I'll hand over to any closing thoughts on the two. But other than that, I think we're all good to wrap up. But I mean, what an incredible week, and it doesn't get much bigger than the two moments that we had for these two.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the two legends. They deserve every flower they get this week and more. Wrestling's gonna miss both of them very much, and Joshi's gonna miss them even more as a whole. So, obviously, congrats to both of them on ending things on their terms. I think that's the most important part. And I look forward to who steps up in both of their absences.
Absolutely. Any closing thoughts, Six, before we wrap this up?
Similar sentiments. It's just a beautiful end to two wrestlers who are defining parts of the old guard and the new guard of Joshi, and what wonderful careers that we got to witness, and hope all of you go out of your ways to watch even more matches of their career.
Yes, exactly. We thank them both, and spend any time that you get diving through those catalogs, anything that you've missed, particularly Meiko, because it's kind of so deep in that. If you're not as familiar with the some of their work in Gaia at the early versions of her career, then definitely go and dive in there where you can. All there's left to say, I guess, is any plugs. Firstly, I know, Scott, you've been a very busy man this week. you've done, as you said, approaching 14 hours of content this week. So
I've hit it. Not approaching. We've hit it.
What they can watch, where they can watch it. Take it away.
Yeah, youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling is where most of my content goes. I had 2 breaking news audios. First when Mayu left, and then when she joined Marigold. So if you want to check those out, 5-star Joshi show each and every Friday is also uploaded on there. And anywhere you get your podcasts, just keeps you informed on everything in the world of Joshi. And the JoshiInformer.substack.com weekly newsletter drops every Friday as well. So while I was doing all the 14 hours of recording, that was also being put together. That is out now, covering everything you needed to know from the world of Joshi. And I, like you guys said earlier, I was on Wrestle Purist Worldwide on Monday. So if you want to see me on there, go ahead. But most of it's old news by now. But if you feel like it, go ahead. But thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you've listened to any of my audio this week, it means the world. If you listen to this whole show, it means the world. I'm tired. I'm not going to do a single thing tomorrow. It's going to be great. Like it's going to be great. I'm so tired. I've recorded twice this week at 3:30 a.m. I am not the smartest person, but I do it anyways for the love of the game because I love it too much. But thank you.
There isn't a harder worker that I know in this space, and in this week in particular, that has been more the case than ever, with all the major happenings, particularly of course centered around Mayu Iwatani. 6. Anything going on anywhere people can find you? I know you know as publicly active on the Twitter side of things anymore, but any appearances elsewhere or things to plug?
Yeah, well, you can find me as the main admin of the @GoldStar Podcast Twitter account. Follow for any information, any and all information on not just myself, but my lovely, lovely co-hosts as well. You can sometimes find me on the Late Night Grin over at Late Night Grin or the Late Night Grin YouTube channel, friend of the brand. I do some relatively frequent coverage there. So if you want to hear mostly my thoughts on American wrestling, that's where you can find it in my occasional appearances on the Late Night Grin, and also occasional appearances on the Novi's Dynamite pre-show. Shout out Novi, our Dynamite quote unquote review brethren. And yeah, you can find me on the Gold Star Podcast whenever we get a chance to record in like another 7, 8, 9 months, and I'll be happy to see you guys then.
Exceptional, yeah. So of course, everything that was just said, go and check out both of my fantastic co-hosts' work wherever you find them. And for me, Jamie Ross WP down here on Twitter. Also, if you haven't already done, like and subscribe the Wrestle Purist YouTube channel. Hopefully, you will be seeing the Gold Star podcast very soon. Mayu Iwatani makes a Marigold debut this Sunday. So if we're not back at some point in the next week, then something will have gone wrong. But that is going to be all for me. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in for the big return of the Gold Star podcast. We appreciate everyone who's stuck here, particularly right throughout approaching the 3 hours of the runtime. And of course, all of our super chatters, we appreciate you all every single time. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's it for me, for Scott, for 6. We'll hope to see you very soon. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.